Sorry, we missed all your description, which
That's good.
reminded me of because I was on a game the other night and I forgot it for like an hour and a half to turn on the recorder.
Mhm.
Shortest
Somebody
one ever.
give me a hint. I'm in build in Hero Lab. I don't see a way to change my experience.
It's in the journal tab. See it off to the right there
In player build.
in build. Oh, you're using the online version, aren't you?
Yeah,
All right, hold it, hold.
I see journal.
So yeah, I gotta get there. I opened up the regular Hero Lab and now it's like regular Hero Lab is like hit open, go do all your shopping, and then you're ready to go. It takes a while.
Okay, I see a chance to add experience points, but I don't know how many to add.
All right, so I can help you with that. So character advancement, 6th level, you need a minimum of quit jumping around of 23,000 experience points. So if you can whatever you need to add to get to 23,001, that's what you need.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
But of course. So Chuck, you're already leveled up as well for Wraith. What did 6th level do anything good for Wraith, or was it sort of a moderately entertaining level?
Well, no, the offset levels for Wraith are fighter. So
okay.
He took a level in fighter, which gives him obviously a better chance to hit with the bow. The only thing specifically fighter he got was another trick shot.
Okay. What did you select? Is that something you select?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now if he chooses to, he can attempt to shoot arrows into someone's arm and disarm them.
Okay.
Nice.
So hit points, saving throws, skills reduced because of the fighter. He only got 4, but I choose because with a half elf you get multi-talented. So fighter is one of his preferred classes.
Okay.
So I can either pick a hit point or an extra skill point, and on fighter levels, I pick the extra skill point.
Cool. Is there a particular skill area that you want to pop stuff into?
Well, he's still focusing on stealth, sense motive, sleight of hand, and disable device.
Got
So
it.
he's still primarily the scout rogue. He's just a little better fighter for this level.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. Andrew, for you probably got another spell or two. Is there anything interesting there? I know that you're kind of like working on it right now, but is there anything that stands out?
No, I'd have to go through everything. I'm still trying to figure this out. I'm in classes because it was red. It says you have enough XP to gain up a level. It's time to level up, and then it says +2. I don't know. I think I need a tutoring session.
All right. Okay, so I just logged into Hero Lab Online. Let me see if I can. I've got. I don't use it for 1st edition, but I can show you what 2nd edition looks like. It's kind of a mess. And it won't let me actually in.
Hey guys, is light armor considered leather? Is leather considered light armor?
I believe so, yes.
It is.
I think even studded leather is considered light armor.
Yeah, leather, studded leather, chain, shirt, and padded are all light armor.
So as a spellcaster, I should be taking a penalty for dexterity and strength-based checks. Does that sound right?
Well, there's a
spell.
There's a spell fail penalty if you're using arcane spells.
Yeah, but that's
it's a penalty if you're using armor when you shouldn't be. But if like your class says you're allowed to use light armor, then you ignore the failure penalty for that type of armor.
Got it.
Which I imagine You're a
Evoker, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm able to wear light.
most mages can't wear any armor, but I know there are some mages that can
Yeah,
wear
well,
light.
I'm wearing light armor and Kearney.
Okay,
Yeah.
like
I
in
have,
18, my summoner, he's one of the classes that can actually wear light armor.
Does he still have the spell failure chance? Like I have a 10%.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Now,
because
now
of
if I put on a
Oh,
set of
without
light,
incurring it.
then yes, I have that.
Got
So the limitations for light armor for you, you have no armor check penalty because of your class. You have no spell failure, but you have a max dex bonus of +6.
Right.
Okay, that's good to know.
So if unless your dex is 24, well, 26, it doesn't affect you.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So Eric, I would switch the thing over to Hero Lab. Now this is 2nd edition, and this was probably the exact wrong character to pick because this is a Pathfinder Society character. But let me go back and see if I have one. Well, it'll be Inkakad, probably the only one that's regular, and it's 20th level. But did you see where? So this is 2nd edition characters, but did you see where the experience points is? You found that, right, Andrew?
What I think I'm finding it. It's yeah, where you can add, but it's also telling me that I can add some, but it says I know 3 2nd level, 3 of 2 no. Huh?
Of spells, you mean?
Yes, or is it supposed to be 2 of 3?
Well, so in this case, when you look at spells, here's the thing: you have to like load the spells, and at least for this, you have to load the spells in your spell book first, and then you can select them for use.
Right.
Right. Frankly, between you and me, it's such a pain in the butt that I usually use something else to keep track of spells. But I mean, it's doable in here, absolutely. But you have to load the spell book first.
Right. So I've done that, and then I guess you pick the spell, and then you add it.
Yep.
So I just have to figure out what I want to do. I've got cantrips to choose from, and 1st level and 2nd level. I just need to figure it out. I don't know what it is yet.
Okay, well, if you want to stay on after this game, we'll after we're done playing, we can I'll help you.
Although after that last round, I'm thinking Mage Hand sounds kind of good.
All the ladies love it.
I'm telling you. Eric Clapton wrote a song about it.
All right. But in the meantime, go ahead and do your hit points, and let's talk about what happened last time. Now, I haven't been able to put together a proper recap for you guys because I've been doing other things. But by and large, what happened last time is you guys were still in the Pyromancer's lair. You were fighting Sidoneth and his water gargoyle creature and all that kind of stuff, and you managed to grab him. And Ono, if I recall correctly, it was Ono punched him twice in the nuts and knocked him unconscious with non-lethal damage. And you guys were able to tie him up and drag him back to Seaquen. Once you did that, once you obtained both the orb and the control wand, you guys were able to sort of turn off the storm and even bring out sunshine, and you guys made the trek back to Seaquen. At the same time, picking up the woman and her family from the ruins, and meeting up with the guy who in the wagon that drove you back. You got back. You were immediately escorted into Simeon's presence, and at that point, you guys were essentially debriefed on a lot of things. You guys told him what had happened, and what Sidoneth had explained to you. In that, I mean, you got the short version of it, which was basically Sargavans had come to him and said, "You will be the court hydromancer at our major port, and we'll give you a whole bunch of money in exchange for you betraying the city of Seaquen, and doing this." And he basically said, "Yeah, it was, it's such an what's the old phrase? What was it? Matt brought up. It was who's the guy on Simpsons who's the clown that the guy who plays Frasier did his voice?
Rusty.
Sideshow Bob.
Oh.
Sideshow Bob, and it says, in my defense, they came over with a whole wagon of money, that kind of thing. So, so he basically was like, look, I'll give you some of the money and that kind of stuff. But that was where he was taken into custody, and Simeon basically told you that while you guys have been gone, some things have happening in the middle of the storm. Vordbert had well, as you guys remember from the battle of the floating theater, that there were a lot of people who in Seaquen who believed that the elves were responsible for the destruction of the theater, and ultimately, and that it was a mass assassination attempt on the part of the elves to try and cut off all, if not all, then most of the head of the snake. Basically, all of the like town leaders and that kind of stuff were there. I mean, they had gotten special invitations to come to this thing. It was a major to do, and all of the important people in Seaquen were to be there, where they were going to be killed. And so basically, Vordbert had been talking up the idea, and then there was the boat with the dead elves in it that was tied up to the ship. They were burnt. There was a couple of elves in there that were burnt, and that those were tied up to the ship, and there were people who were disguised and things like that. And you guys are of the opinion, I think, that the elves weren't responsible for this, but they were, somebody was trying to pin this on the elves.
Framed, and we told even that little pipsqueak dwarf that I'm going to eventually kill. I said that out loud. Anyway,
not if I see him first.
We're doing that.
We told all the leadership that it looked like the elves did it, but it was a very shoddy frame job, and we pretty much saw all kinds of evidence that told us that someone was trying to frame the elves here.
Well, and to a certain extent, almost everybody is of similar mind. Certainly Simeon is, and his coterie of associates. But there is a significant portion of the leadership of Seaquen, or at least the tacit leadership of Seaquen, led by Vordbert, that is basically saying this was an elvish hit job that went awry. Well, while you guys were gone hunting down Sidoneth, Vordbert had been, well, even before you left, Vordbert had been making, he had been making his case to the people of Seaquen and the refugees and that kind of stuff. He had already been doing a couple of things. He wanted to deputize people and, set up a sort of para-legal force that was, going to be like a police force for the refugees. And he'd always been in large part a critic of how the current administration had been taking care of the refugees, and that this was we've got no. He'd always been a big proponent of like security checks and the idea that there were some refugees that were too dangerous to take in, and that they needed to control that. And everybody else was sort of against him. But there were people that sort of thought maybe this guy's got something. He's also been very anti-elf, and so you can remember that the elves had essentially set up an interdiction, for lack of a better term, blockade around the Seaquen Peninsula into the river. And this is something that Vordbert has always been a vocal critic about, because essentially, from the elves' point of view, they're providing security. From Vordbert's point of view, they are controlling the waterways, right? So after the Battle of the Theater, and you guys went away to go chase down Sidoneth, Vordbert had been quietly sort of building his cadres. And essentially, while you guys were away, on like the second day you were away, during the storm, he attacked the elvish ships. It was a pretty significant battle. They had somehow come up with a lot of, alchemical bombs that they used, and flaming arrow strikes and that kind of stuff. It was, even to the extent that there were, not to coin a phrase, but there were essentially suicide bombers who floated small John boats filled with flammable incendiaries, tied them up next to the elvish ships under the cover of the rain, and then ignited them. with themselves in it. So it was very much an ugly fight, which ultimately resulted in Vordbert and his guys destroying a good number of the elvish ships and driving off the elvish forces. Now, keep in mind that this is not too long after. I mean, you guys were in the room in the council chambers when Shalastra came and basically said, "My father wants to essentially take over security and for Seaquen." And this guy is an important elvish guy from the plains, and now with this attack. Well, that leaves the relationship between the people of Seaquen and the elves in some disrepair, certainly. But Vordbert proclaimed this a huge win. And essentially it's like Seaquen for Seaquen people, and the elves have been driven off, and now we're free to do what we want. And frankly, a lot of people who were on the fence about Vortbert's sort of vocal antipathy for the elves are now openly in Vortbert's camp, and he has been growing in influence and power throughout the city in the last couple of days. There were casualties, in that battle against the elves, and we talked a little bit about those last time, but we can look at it here. Let's see if this friggin'
Well,
works.
what matters was the paladin check.
So you can see, to a certain extent, obviously Vordbert is still alive. Sidoneth is still alive. You guys brought him back. Katarina is still alive, which is good. Xavius, who was the head of the dwarvish forces under, I can't remember exactly what her name was, but he was largely the head of dwarvish forces under this noblewoman from the one of the central regions of Sargava. He was killed under odd circumstances. A big thing was Lorbeck was killed, and her body was found on the waterfront, having been killed. It looked like by elvish arrows, which is strange because she seems like the least likely to have been. Yeah. Her and Vordbert were vocal enemies, and it seems remarkably unlikely that she would have taken part in any sort of elves or even been an elvish attack. Even it seems unlikely that Vordbert would even let her know about it, knowing that she would have probably opposed him. But she ended up dead with what looks like elvish arrows in her, and then she was found on the on the shore of the river, very much dead. Shalosha is missing. No one. She was the commander of the elves on site. Her body has not been recovered. Now you do know that her flagship in the river, her flagship riverboat, was destroyed. So it's possible she is dead. It's possible she has escaped, but there's no confirmation either way. The reality is, however, both of those situations are problematic. If she was attacked and escaped, she has gone back to her father to report on what has transpired here at Seaquen.
Right.
And he's not going to be happy about that. If she has been killed, ultimately her father is going to find out about it. And he'll be even less happy about that. He will take that as a personal affront, and who knows what happens then. So there's that. That is the situation that you guys arrive back at. The storm is gone. But frankly, there's another storm of a different kind that seems to be brewing. Yeah. That said, you guys went back to Simeon, debriefed him, told him what happened, delivered Sidoneth over to the authorities. But you can even see, and Simeon is quite open with you, that he sees you guys as, well, at least by what he says, he basically sees you guys as very much on his side and for lack of a better term, sort of special ops force on Simeon's side. Now, Simeon will admit that he has not openly opposed Vordbert, because frankly, even though he carries a great, as the headmaster of the Lyceum, he carries a great deal of influence on the council. He is not the head of the council. And I have to go back and tell you who exactly the head of it is and that kind of stuff. We'll go back and look at that here in a minute. But he's on the council, but he's not the head of it. So he feels it impolitic, especially with Vordbert's growing power in the city. And growing sort of influence over things, that to oppose him openly puts the Lyceum in danger. Now, Vordbert has never been an opponent of the magic school. In fact, he's been a moderately staunch supporter of the school, largely because at least Simeon thinks that Vordbert understands the value that the Lyceum brings to Seaquen, and because of that is a supporter. Frankly, this is the largest magic school outside of Sargavan territory proper, and so many non-Chilaxian, non-Sargavan mages come here. Now, obviously, that makes it a target for the Scourge, because this is the place where they teach new mages, and the Scourge, as you know, wants to get rid of arcane magic practitioners in its entirety throughout Sargava. They are divine practitioners themselves. So basically, you guys brought back Sidoneth, handed it over, debrief Simeon. He explained to you what's been going on, who's missing, who's gone. Vortbert's thing. He confirms with you that you guys now have Sidoneth's property in the city that now belongs to you. I believe he provided some other external rewards, but he also said in exchange for the storm, or the Orb of Storms and the Control Wand, he was going to provide you as a group 150% of the value of the Orb of Storms in magic items of your choosing, depending on whether or not his students will be able to produce them. And so let me just give you that number so you know what you're dealing with.
And he already shot down my +5 Holy Avengers.
Well, he's just like, you guys are never going to be able to touch him. As much as we like to bid him, you're obviously evil.
Granted, very overpriced +2 swords. But...
All right, so that gives you, in this case, the cost of an Orb of Storms is 48,000 gold. 150% of that would be 72,000 in gold in magic items. So that's something that you guys are going to want to probably talk amongst yourselves about. And that includes magic items from whole cloth. So like, create me a potion of water breathing, whatever. Right. Or ensorcelment of existing magic items, and largely weapons, if you wanted to go that route.
Of existing non-magical.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. So, I mean, you can take if you have a sword +1, you can get it upgunned to sword +2 for, I think it's $8,000 or something like that. Or you can add abilities to it. You can add various kinds of magical abilities to it for those same costs. But this is for all of you, the 72 grand, not just Arendar.
How many of us are there? 5 of us?
I don't know. Do you guys want to sort that out?
No, I'm just curious. Roughly.
A little PvP action.
I believe there are currently 5 of them.
Good night. I think Arendar Wraith, Vondram. No, there's 6. Vondram Poe,
Okay,
Titus, and Ono. So 6.
So 72.
12,000.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Now you guys can spend that 72 however you want.
So
or if
basically,
somebody else has something better idea, Gandhi, give up points if somebody has something they're short of.
So we each have 12K to spend, and you can negotiate giving some extra to somebody or whatever based on what they're looking for.
Now, there is a limit to what the Lyceum can provide. That limit is relatively high, but if you're like saying, I would like the Eye of Vecna, please, I don't know that I'm going to be able to provide that.
The head of Vecna.
The head of Vecna, yeah. It's a gazebo. They're just goats. But yeah, but largely, I mean, this is a magical school and the premier teaching school in the region. So they will have significant stuff, and we'll be able to do some oddball stuff if that's what you're interested in. D10 for the man. All right, hold on a second. Let's just go ahead and do this. Here we go. There you go. There's an 8. How's that roll for you? Excellent. All right. Sound good? That's where we are. Questions before we sort of jump into today's madness.
So I'm sure we'll be taking care of the magic items like in game time, like right now. But I'm
right. But you guys can
tonight, we'll let
yeah.
you know what we're doing, and
I assume you guys are going to want some time to sort of talk amongst yourselves and make deals and look and say, and this will work better for me. This will work, you know how it is. Right. But yeah, you'll have that credit. And we'll just assume that those things, regardless of when they arrive, when you guys go back out into the field, at such point, you guys will have that material with you.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
Yep.
Now, I remember last time after we got back, one of the things that I remember having an idea about as far as the Laura Becca's, I'd love to be able to, I think Gordon said Poe has the ability to speak with dead. I'd love to be able to ask her like questions like did she see who killed her, anything like that, because I'm quite certain a bunch of elves she wasn't out on the battlefield and a bunch of elves shot her.
Well, so if not, somebody has gone to a great deal of effort to make it look like she has.
Oh, yeah.
And frankly, to a certain extent, I mean, as you guys leave Simeon and Sidneth and Simeon's and go back out into the city, you return to Sidneth, what now your house, in Seaquen, and the reality is that there's a great many people in town who know what you guys have done. That you've put a stop to the thing. You get back to I think Titus and Ono are still staying at one inn. There's a lot of people there. They're buying you drinks. It's hard for you guys to buy an ale in this town, even if you go through some of the refugee areas, which I know Arendar and Wraith do on a fairly regular basis. The word is out that you guys have done a great service to this city, and people are appreciative. There's a lot going on. You are able to find out that Laura Beck her body has been taken back into custody by her guys. So you'll remember that Laura Beck sort of was the leader of that one section of the refugee camp.
Right.
And her body has been taken back to them. And in a few discreet inquiries will tell you that in about 2 days, they're going to do a pyre. Essentially in the tradition of her paladinhood, they've already gone out and they're collecting logs, and they're building a pyre, and they're going to give her to the sky.
So yeah, obviously my plan would have to happen before that, because you kind of have to have a body there to speak. The other thing is I'd like to talk with her people people she was closest to. She's got to have like a second in command or whatever, and say, hey, what was going on that night? Was she really on the battlefield? Was she really trying to do this, or does no one know how she got out there, kind of thing?
Well, so do you seek? I'm assuming you seek that guy out.
Yeah.
All right.
Probably would. I'm guessing we're doing all this all together, because
you're gonna. I mean, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Are there other things that other people want to do? So I'm assuming Wraith, you and Arendar are hunting down Laura Beck's second in command to see if you can get access to the body and that kind of stuff. Is anybody who's going with him, or is everybody going with him?
It's just easier to have us all go.
Yeah.
I mean, because we could make a whole night staying on what Wraith and I do, going back to the refugee camp.
You guys are trouble in that regard. That's true.
Oh, we are trouble. No. Well, the woman with her family we brought back. Some
and if I recall correctly, you sort of parked her with some people. Made sure that she was taken care of, and that Vordbert and his guys didn't get near her, because you'll remember she told a story about like some of Vortbert's guys tried to get her to sort of like
and that's
change jobs.
Yes, exactly, and that's what Wraith and I were going to go back and make sure that didn't happen.
Right, and I think when you brought her back,
we had to.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm just thinking from a whole party perspective, I would think finding out from Laura Beck's peeps what happened, where was she, why was she there? Do you guys believe that, do you guys believe that, a bunch of elves, I mean, just kind of find out what their take on this is. I mean, they're the closest to her, so they know her better than anyone.
So you do find out weirdly that her second in command and now sort of the de facto leader of this group is a half ogre named Quema, Quema. You're a little bit taken aback by the fact that this is a half ogre and you haven't seen any half ogres, but you do when you're sort of wandering around, you do kind of catch a glimpse of this person. It is a male half ogre, but obviously stunted. Half ogres tend to be like 8 or 9 feet tall. Typically, this one is more like 6.5, 7 feet tall, and with a prodigious hunchback. So you can see that if it was able to stand straight up, it would be it would be maybe even a foot taller, but it's hunchback, and there's a fair lump there. That said, it carries a large, obviously masterwork quality axe with a hammock end on it. So it's like an axe on one end and a hammer on the other, sized for it, and it looks, despite its infirmities, it looks quite capable of crushing the crap out of somebody. But you can see as you sort of wend your way through the portion of the refugee camp that Laura Beck once ran, you can see there's an obvious the area is obviously, they are obviously sad about this. And you can see various people sort of going around, and you do have seen in a couple of occasions in the distance this half ogre Quema, who is sort of like going from tent to tent, from place to place, and it looks like he's doing a couple of things. One, he's dealing with sort of administrative things, like somebody needs food, or somebody's tent has a hole in it and he's dealing with that, and dispatching a variety of people to go take care of things. But he's also, in some cases, there's one notable case where you're about 100 meters away from the guy, and this woman in armor, you think maybe half elvish, comes out, and her and Quema are talking. Can't hear what they're saying, but there's a moment where they're both silent for a moment, and he sort of opens up his arms, and she comes in, and you can see them, like a big hug, that kind of thing. As you could see that after she comes away from the hug, that she wipes her eyes a little bit and that kind of stuff, and they talk a little bit more and then walk away. It's obvious that he's consoling people as well about Laura Beck's death.
Not like the ogres that I've heard of.
Huh?
It's like not like the ogres that I've heard of.
No, different. So maybe there's something different about this guy. I mean, he was Laura Beck's second in command. Laura Beck was his paladin, maybe he is similar, but he's definitely taken up the mantle of making sure everybody's okay administratively from a refugee standpoint. Because there's a lot of damage. The storm created a lot of damage for the refugee camps. So he's sort of like touring the facilities and making sure everything's okay. But then you also see that in some cases he's consoling people.
No, this is just something I thought was a good idea. Everybody else can chime in to see if there's anything else you guys want to do. This was one thing that stuck out to me as like a sore thumb that is definitely wrong. So, and Wraith and I like to stick our nose in things that we think are unfair and fix them. It's kind of
that's true.
Whether we're right or not, we stick with it, and we're always right.
Did you ever guys see? Remember back in the '80s where there was this whole spate of like Vietnam War movies, like Platoon and stuff like that? There was one. And I can't even remember the name of it, but it had Gregory Hines and the guy who played anyway, Gregory Hines and this other guy went in, and they played. It was a Vietnam era movie, and they played CID members of Criminal Investigation Division for the Army in Vietnam. And there's this one point where they're investigating these murders, right, that are taking place, these weird murders. And their commanding officer is mad at them because they're taking too much time and all this kind of stuff. He's like, look, and I'll never forget this as long as he's like, look, you're in a river of shit, but instead of staying in the boat, you reach over and you pick out a turd and say, this turd pisses me off. I'm going to do something about this turd. And that's kind of what Arendar and Wraith do.
Pretty much, yeah, that's our thing.
That's our thing. All right. Well, the rest of you, obviously you guys are going with them. You see some of the, some of the damage that has been done by the storm to these people. I mean, you're talking about refugees who have virtually nothing anyway. Now they have almost virtually nothing. Yeah. And, there's, a lot of people are working, at least here, a lot of people are working very diligently to try and provide for these people. There's food trucks, there's water barrels being carted around. And you can see just as well as Arendar and Wraith, this guy, Kama, who seems to be taking over.
Taking over in a good way?
Yeah, I mean, he's going from he's going up and down the rows of tents and the in the little sort of half-built hovels that people have been sort of living in, and he's seeing if they need anything. He's talking to families. You can see at one point there's kids coming up to him and they're grabbing his leg. He sort of ruffles their hair and that kind of stuff. And he seems like he's really sort of taken up Lorbeck's job of taking care of these people.
Well, I guess we'll go up and introduce ourselves.
All right. As you approach,
I let Titus do the honors unless he wants me to.
All right. As you guys approach, you get within about 20 feet of this guy. And suddenly, and Wraith, you spot these guys sort of you spot them more quickly than anybody else. These guys are sort of coming out of the crowd and they're beelining for you. And as you get closer, suddenly there are a half dozen guys sort of in various positions around you, a couple with bows, that are sort of back. And Wraith, you recognize that these guys are serious about their profession because they're in no way getting too close to fight. They're not, none of that dummy stuff. They're ready. And then you have a couple of other guys with long, with long daggers and short swords that are coming up and say, "Excuse me, who are you? Where are you going? What are you doing here?" They confront you.
All right, Andrew, you want this? You want me to take it?
Go ahead. Titus is really wrapped up with and pissed off at Hero Lab.
Okay.
And as a Hero Lab user myself, the DM sympathizes and understands your plight.
So I'll just introduce who I am.
Okay.
And quickly introduce everyone in the party. Say, I wish to speak to, and then I forget the name of the guy.
Kama?
Yeah. Speak with him, offer my condolences, and see if there's anything we can do to help.
You can see him sort of looking over. When these guys come out of the crowd, you can see him, so you sort of notice. You can see him sort of doing that. And then you hear him sort of Rego, Mega, let him pass. And he begins walking over to you. And he's like, "I'll be back in a moment." He begins walking over to you, and he's like, "You must be Arendar and Titus and Wraith and Horam and Vondram and Ono and who did I forget? Wraith and Arendar."
Yeah, that's it. I'll extend my hand and shake his hand and just.
He grabs your hand, and you can feel your tiny girl hand being engulfed by this guy's and you could tell that he's desperately trying not to crush your hand in this shake, but still, sort of give you an opportunity to feel like a grown up.
Adult.
Yeah. And he releases it pretty quickly. He's like, "I've heard of your capture of Sidoneth, the Hydromancer. I must commend you. You've done a man's work in the last few days, and I must commend you. Well done.
You've done a man's work with your girly little hands."
Your girl hands have done a man's work. You should be proud.
So I'm basically just gonna, offer my condolences for his loss, and then say, hey, once we, came back, we kind of find out what's going on. I want to know what happened, because to me this doesn't seem legit. At least the story we were led to believe what happened to Laura Beck doesn't hold water with us.
I can see that Simeon was wise to put his trust in you. This is not a discussion that we should have out on the street. There are ears everywhere. Come, let's go back to a tavern tent that I know of. We'll be able to speak freely there. And he leads you. He's like, Ben, and
tell him you had me at tavern, so.
Well, and so you guys kind of pile around a little bit, and there's a big pavilion that he comes through. It's kind of wide open, but there's some little patchwork walls and stuff like in there. And he gives a quick salute to the tavern keeper, and the tavern keeper kind of looks over. And frankly, this tavern, it's essentially a tent with a couple of canvas walls and a block with some, like a piece of wood stretched across 2 barrels and a pile of mugs. So you see this guy sort of nod at Kama, and he begins, filling up ale from a thing and putting mug after mug onto the thing. He waves over a barman. Kama's like, come with me. And there's like a little sort of enclosure near the back of the tent that is much more sort of enclosed. There's only one way in, and it's quiet. There's some stools and stumps kind of like set up here like chairs, and a little sort of half-assed table like a spool from those wires that you sometimes see in people's yards, sort of laying there. It's very rustic, but he's like, please have a seat. And no sooner than he does that, the guy shows up with the various kinds of ale. You can see that Kama's glass, it's obviously his mug is much bigger than
like
yours, and there's
bucket.
yeah, and it's got like a little rune on it, and he's like, please enjoy this. This place may not be the equivalent of some of the taverns in Gate Path that you've enjoyed in the past, but it is as best we can do now among the circumstances. Please drink up. The ale is quite good, I assure you.
Oh, definitely.
So you've asked me about the circumstances of my liege Laura Beck's death, and I am not one cranberry juice. What did they say in The Departed when he orders cranberry juice? What are you, on your period? He's not going to ask that though.
Yeah, he's already making fun of my girly hands. He can just
So he says, look, you question the circumstances under which my liege Laura Beck was murdered, and you are right to do so. Simeon is correct. You are perspicacious and effective, and I'm glad to make your acquaintance. But I agree with you. The idea that she would take Vordbert's part and fight against the elves in some ill-conceived guerrilla war in which suicide bombers and attacks from fishing boats under stealth were the norm, it is so alien to her that I dismiss it entirely. And I'm assuming that I'm among people who think the same. Is that true?
I'll shake my head.
No, it's not true. What do you mean?
I'll disagree. No.
So he basically says, Vordbert never had no love for my liege. It is true, because she opposed him at many occasions, and rightly so, in my opinion. Vordbert is a piece of crap. But for whatever thing, he was successful in that battle, and I think he used it to erase a few of his detractors. My liege among them, but also Xavius, who led the dwarves of the Lady Callan. It was an assassin job, if you ask me, and I aim to get as much revenge as I can.
That's kind of how it seemed to us as well, or to me, anyway.
What of the rest of you? Arendar, you've spoken plainly, and I appreciate that. But the rest of your friends are silent. What all do you think? Are you in agreement with your friend, or do you dissemble?
Don't phrase it like that. I know what the answer you're going to get if you ask if they agree with me.
Arendar speaks for me.
Any chance we could get a
Hi, honey.
come on. Any chance we could get a an audience with Laura Beck? I could revive her for a short period of time and get some questions answered from her. Might help us.
He watches you curiously. He says, "What do you mean by reviver? Is this some necromancy you wish to perform on her? Her body is to go to the sky in 2 days hence.
No, it's
And
a
that
simple,
plan will not be changed."
simple clerical spell that allows me to speak with dead. Very common.
But not revive her, turn her into some abomination?
No.
No. I'm not nearly powerful enough to do any of those kind of things.
I must consult the gods on this, but your plan sounds sound. Excuse me for a moment. And you see him he sets his mug down, and he stands up, and he goes over to a corner, and you see him pull sort of like this pouch out of his vest. He opens up the pouch, and it opens up flat. It's not a pouch in the sense that it's tube shaped, but it's like somebody takes a cloth and sort of like wrapped it up and sort of tied it up. He knocks it out flat, and in there you can see, and he makes he's not trying to hide it or anything. He just sort of sets it out on the ground, and there are little Ushabti figures, these little like wax figures. They're quite crude, but there are several of them, and he very gently sets these things, and they're maybe 6 to 8 inches tall. So I mean, his giant hand sort of like, but you can see him being very gentle with them, and he sets them up in like a little semicircle, and you can see then he pulls out like there's a little bit of like this little herb. It might be sage or something like that. You're not sure, but he very quickly reaches into a metal can that he has, and he pulls out a hot coal, blows on a couple of things. You can see it glow red in his fingers, and he doesn't like drop it or anything. He just holds it, and he puts it like sort of in the middle of these herbs, and they begin to smoke. And you see him then kneel down. He sort of like pulls back his robe a little bit. He kneels down in front of this, and he sort of prostrates himself in front of it once, twice, 3 times.
Lady.
And then he sits up, and he goes like this, and you see him sort of going like this. He doesn't say anything.
Mhm.
He does this for maybe a minute or 2, and then finally he just stops. He smashes the herbs and puts them out and sort of crumbles it together and sort of scatters them around, gathers up the figurines, puts them in the thing, comes back, and you guys watched him sort of do this silently in front of you the whole time. He sits back down, takes a long slug of his ale, and says, "I've consulted the gods, and they tell me that what you desire is aligned with their purposes, and so I will allow you the access you need. Her body is in a tent not far from here, being guarded by 13 men to make sure that Vordbert and his ilk have no chance of defiling her further. We have removed the weapons, but kept them as evidence. Would you go there now?"
Yes.
That's up to Poe. He's ready.
Well, wait, let's finish this cold beer.
Yeah.
He smiles. It's like you can see his like snaggly fang-like teeth. He's like, I knew that you are men and creatures of my own heart. Indeed, we shall not only finish this beer, but have another as well before we depart. Laura Beck, the gods rest her soul, is not going anywhere.
I'll offer a toast to her, and then I'm gonna finish whatever I've got.
Okay. So the plan is to go there and cast Speak with Dead?
Yeah, and we kind of talked to him about this.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is not a spell I would normally have, Les, but I'm assuming since we talked about it, I would have prepped it.
Okay. Sounds
All right.
good.
But I'd want to include him on this and say, obviously, you knew her better than us, so you might actually have some better questions or be able to phrase these better towards her than we could. Or you might have better questions than what we could come up with. So
you can ask her. So it says you may ask 1 question for 2 caster levels. That means 3 questions.
Right.
So he's like, I will lend to you what experience and wisdom I may have, but I assure you, I am no mage or wizard or scholar to provide a grammarian's touch. I trust that your sorcerer there knows much more about these things than I do. And he sort of nods at Titus. Who's left?
So yeah. So basically, 3 questions.
You get 3 questions.
And they're not yes, no, they're full questions, right?
They're full questions. So the corpse's knowledge is limited to what it knew during life, including the languages. Answers may be brief, cryptic, or repetitive, especially if the creature would have opposed you in life. Now, this probably isn't the case. You were. I mean, friends is too strong a word, but certainly acquaintances of Laura Beck, and she probably felt that you guys were if not tacitly, then certainly sympathetically on her side in regard.
Right.
She certainly would have noticed your antipathy for Vordbert, which she would have shared.
Right. So if they're full questions, I guess the first question.
You guys can talk about these.
Yeah. This is just us here discussing. We want to know, I guess, first, if she knows who killed her.
Okay.
I would think that.
So, who killed you? That kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm guessing that. Or, yeah, see, so I'd like to know if she knows who killed her, how she was killed, where she was at when she was killed. What's the last thing she remembers?
He might know that.
Right. So I'm getting all these out now. We'll figure out what things we can ask him, and then whatever we still need answers for, then that's when, Gordon, you can cast your spell, and then we can get as much as we can from her. Out of 3 questions.
Who killed her, and if she knows who that person was working for.
So okay. Gordon had a good question. Les, we're going to ask the half ogre.
Kama.
Do you know how she ended up on that battlefield? When's the last time you saw her? And does she usually have people with her, like guards with her, or
He sort of sits back, and you can see that he's a little bit shameful. I will speak truthfully in honor of the dead and in honor of Laura Beck herself. I should have been there with her. I do not know why she was in that place at that time. I know she would have never taken part in Vordbert's ill-conceived battle, and she had great love for the elves, especially the elves. Her and so he will tell her that her and Shalosha were friends. And she was a comrade of Shalosha, and they had known each other before the Sargavan incursion, and were friends. There is zero chance that she would have participated in this, knowing that Shalosha and her forces were the target. I should have been with her that night. Laura Beck disdained personal guards, so I tried to stay as close to her as possible and have my men stay as close to her as possible to ensure that her safety, despite as her arguments and her her anger with Vordbert increased, I tried to accelerate those things, but I failed.
So
I failed to protect her in her hour of need, and that is my shame.
Did anyone see her leave?
I have asked this question of nearly everyone in this camp. No one saw her depart the camp that evening.
And is there anything odd around, I guess, wherever she would have slept, like her tent?
There was no change in her tent. There was no disruption. There was nothing out of place. She lived frugally, as befits a paladin of her stature, especially one with the care of so many in need. She lived frugally, but I did look at her quarters and saw nothing out of place. Okay. It was as if she was she simply disappeared.
So okay.
How did she die?
She was struck with 3 arrows of elven make, which were still in her when she was found on the shore of the river.
Were there no other wounds on her body? Any
No,
blood
no.
trauma anywhere, or?
None that I saw. But I am no healer. I'm more used to creating wounds than fixing them.
I hear you.
But she had 3 obviously elvish arrows stuck in her.
Do you think that's something, Gordon, think that's something Poe could look at? And does he have a decent heal check that he can maybe?
We have removed those arrows from her, if that is a factor.
That's fine,
Good Poe.
but just, I would almost guess that maybe those were put in afterwards as a cover. And not necessarily what actually dropped her.
Or they could have done that somewhere else and then taken her there.
Right.
Largely, everyone believes that she, beyond all reason, joined Vordbert in this and died in the fighting. That's largely the opinion of most, unless you talk to the people that she cared for, in which case, like Kama and those guys, they're like, absolutely not. She would never have done this.
Yeah.
But your average Jamoke in Seaquen,
Yeah.
she died in the battle.
There must have been witnesses then. I mean, somebody must have been there.
Kama will tell you that he has asked, he's asked a fair amount of people. Now, this is only like 3 days ago,
Right.
that this happened while you guys were in the thing. So Kama will tell you that he has asked around. He's done as much. He's like, I'm no investigator, but I've asked around. I've had people ask around, and to the extent that we can determine, no one saw her leave the camp. No one saw her at the battle. And the only time that she was, it is when her body was found on the shore of the river, with the arrows in it, the day after. So she washed up on the shore, the day after the battle,
Okay.
which would have been a day to a day and a half before you guys came back.
Right. Okay, so we're not getting any help from any witnesses, so.
Well, I mean, the fact that people believe that shows that somebody's telling that as a rumor and is
Yeah, someone's
pushing
pushing.
that. Someone's pushing that story.
Yeah,
Someone has a vested interest in having.
and in the absence of
believe that.
facts, if that's the only story that gets pushed, then that becomes
True.
the truth.
So where she died, if she saw who killed her, and if she knows who that
Is there,
was.
so I'm trying to think if there's a first question we could ask that would,
Make you not have to ask another.
right, or
I can tell you where she was found.
Doesn't necessarily mean that's where she was killed.
No, not at all. I mean, do you guys care? Or
where was she found?
she was found.
And you said she washed up on shore from. Was this
It looked like she was washed up on shore. So the battle took place largely out in this area here, right? So you've got I mean, these ships aren't precisely located. There's more of them, but
Right.
the bulk of the battle took place out here and out here, inside the thing. So she was found about here. So just inside the inlet of the river.
And where's her residence?
Her area was the green area, right?
Her area is, I believe, the green area. Yes. Hold please. I believe her area was the green area. Yeah.
Okay. So it was in town, so. And to be honest, I mean, one of the reasons there's not probably a lot of witnesses is the fact that it was storming, so. Visibility wouldn't have been perfect. So if we asked her, I mean, like, I don't want to ask her if she knows who killed her because that's a waste of a question without an answer. So if we just ask her who killed her, I'd also want to know where.
Who were the people responsible for your death? That would cover all of them. That would cover the person who killed her, and if she knows it, the person who had her killed.
Nice. That's a good way to put it.
Sorry, hers was the blue area.
Okay. I knew it wasn't the pink one is where our people are from.
Yeah, it's the general sort of like non-aligned people.
Right, but I knew
her area was the blue one, and a lot of that. So this blue-pink border is quite porous, not only from the point of view of people, but also from services. So Laura Beck and her people, brought services to as many people as they could, even people that they weren't aligned, directly aligned with.
Right.
The green was so Laura Beck was keeping. I'm sorry, you're right. The green was Laura Beck's, and she was doing that. The blue is the Ostalons, which are mostly sailors and merchants. And the red was Lady Timor, not Lady Callan, Lady Timor's guys. This was Xavius ran these guys, and he was killed too. So Vordbert's popularity has increased massively in the purple area, and to a lesser extent in the blue area, and definitely in town.
Okay. So Gordon, I say we start with your question, and then based on the answer we get, then we'll formulate the next two questions. We're going to have the half ogre there with us while we're doing this, so he could witness all this, and if there's anyone else he wants in there while this is going on.
Oh, he tells you that there's no way that he would allow you to do this without him.
Okay.
All right. So you see that spot, that red spot?
Yep.
That's where Laura Beck's body was found.
Yeah, that's pretty close to our house.
Yeah, your house is like right. That's this right here, right? So not super far.
Oh, I thought our house was up on the end.
No, that's this one here.
Yeah, I thought it was.
No, that's the tavern that you guys started out at.
I thought it was like way out here where we walked to get to it.
This is the house.
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's right on the shore, but
Okay.
And then this is the Lyceum over here.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, all right, Gordon, punch it, Chewy.
All right. Do you guys have your questions? So you go into.
We have our first question.
All right. So you guys, they lead you. So Kama leads you to this place. And it's a pavilion, but it's guarded. You can see several guards all around the place. And not only that, but Arendar, Wraith, and Ono. Give me a perception check. Okay. 19. All right. So, Ono, you and Arendar don't really sort of notice this.
One higher than that because I'm still using 5th level.
Oh, okay. I guess you would probably spot it. So Wraith and Arendar. Oh no, you don't. You're just like wandering around like I'm just a teenager. I don't know anything. But Wraith, you spot it first, and you let your brother know. You sort of like, yeah, hey, look at this. You could see that not only are there a bunch of guards around the tent itself, which is quite large, and sort of there's like a picket, but then you look around and you see there are a fair amount of probably a dozen guys sort of just hanging back in the distance. You can see them because they are watching you guys like hawks. Several have bows. Several of them are just sort of like hanging out, waiting there. The reality is that if you were to enter this tent with bad intent, not only would you have to fight your way in through the first rank of guards, but these guys would swoop in, and probably they have additional ranks of people. There's a lot. The Wraith, what you see is that there's a lot of people here who are watching this tent. And your guess is that it's because either out of respect or somebody suspects that Vordbert might try to do something.
Right.
Because the guard situation is pretty significant. But Kama is, just sort of walks by. He's like, hey, how, he grasps shoulders with one of the guys by the door. He whips open the thing, and you go in and you can see what is begun is a low stack of logs. And, so they're stacking these logs in sort of like the crisscross stamp. And on the top of the log, so the stack right now is only about 5 feet high. So maybe 3-4 ranks of logs. Stacked in sort of Lincoln log fashion in a square, but on the top of it is a large wooden pallet, upon which is draped what looks to be a big cloth of silk, and on top of that silk with a silken pillow is what is obviously the body of Laura Beck. There are other logs in the process of being notched that are stacked around in sort of the area, and you can see wood chips and some tools, but no other people are in there. So it's obvious that may have. It looks to you like they may have been working on building the pyre, but right now it's only about 4.5 feet tall. But she's on it, so your guess is that they're building a level, lifting her up, slipping the level underneath, and then putting her back down. Kama says, "Behold, Laura Beck the Paladin, my liege and my friend. If you were to retrieve her spirit and ask her questions, you may do so."
Hey, Poe, it's all you.
He sort of stands back at the foot of the thing with his hand on his axe, and you can see that he's looking at her body, and you can almost think that there might be some water in his eyes. I mean, you don't see tears, but it's obvious that he's somber at looking at the body. Do what you will. Ask your questions. I wish to know the answers myself so that I know in which direction to focus my ire.
All right, it's a 10-minute ceremony, so I will get started with that.
All right.
Before I do that, actually, I want to ask Kama if there's anybody outside in that crowd of people who might be part of Vordbert's crowd. Is there another group besides?
It's certainly possible. Security in a refugee camp, as you can imagine, is quite difficult. Near to here, we trust that it is mostly our people, but one never can tell. The Sargavans and their sympathizers, which I suspect Vordbert is. That's between you and me. I suspect Vordbert is they are insidious rats in the underbrush. So it's possible. It's possible, Poe. Why? What do you need me? Do you need me to clear the space?
I just want Wraith maybe to keep an eye out with what's going on outside in case there are people trying to figure out what we're doing and stop it.
If you want, I can have my men in the crowd to push back all traffic another 50 feet. Create a zone of interdiction around this tent. Would that be welcome?
Might be useful to see if anybody's going to stand out from not wanting that to happen. Yeah.
It will be done. You there, come here. Yes, Lord Kama. And they're like, push back, tell the men. Push back 50 feet. No one is to approach the tent until I give the say-so. You understand? Yes, sir. He runs out. It will be done. Give it a few minutes. It takes time to push these people back. But in a couple of minutes, you peek out there, and it looks like there's no one within 50 feet of this tent. You can still see Wraith. You can still see that there are guys, hard-eyed guys, looking out there, sort of thing. But Kama comes up behind you and basically says, "Those are my men. I assure you, their trustworthiness is unimpeachable. We can proceed."
Well, basically, when they were following up on that order,
mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have been standing outside.
Okay.
So that I could see if anyone not
lingered,
openly resisted, but if there were anybody who was particularly put off by that.
Give me a perception check. Hold on, I gotta actually get on the thing here. 32. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good roll. So generally speaking, no. Is once Kima's men began to push people back, they complied immediately. There were a couple of guys, sort of sallow-looking fellows, that sort of gave these very sort of half-assed arguments. It's like, what do you mean? Blah, 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 you know, that kind of stuff. And but you know, it wasn't long before they were pushed away as well. Kima's guys were having no. They were brooking no brush with it. But you did see a couple of guys that sort of got that were like, well, what do you mean? Why do we have to leave? You know, that kind of thing. But it was shut down super quickly.
I'll just try to make a note of which two people they were.
Remembering their faces, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They look, to your eyes, I mean, you've been around here, they look like a petite people that would probably have been in the purple zone of refugees. You know, unaffiliated, you know, skinny, you know,
Do I
you know,
recognize any of them?
you didn't recognize them. You don't think you've seen them before.
Well, the purple zone was where our people went. So
Yeah, but there's several hundred people there. I
Well,
mean,
right,
oh,
but if
from
they
Gate
came-
Pass, you mean?
right.
No, you don't recognize them from Gate Pass.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of people that you would run into, like sort of street gang people and that kind of stuff. But like I said, even though you guys were sort of street gang people, you don't remember these people from Gate
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Pass. Allegedly. It takes two people to fuck an ostrich.
We love that term.
Yes,
Allegedly.
allegedly, Yana.
Never proven. No convictions. Yeah, you don't recognize them, but you would next time.
Okay.
All right. The people are pushed back. Poe completes the ceremony, and you see not the body of Laura Beck raise up, but you see what looks to be a translucent sort of shape sort of come out of the body and sort of sit up and look around. It only kind of looks like Laura Beck, but you can see, you look over at Kama, and Kama's like, my liege. And he only says it almost under his breath, but you can see him take one hard knee down on the ground, and you can see he has actually removed his weapon and placed it next to him, and his head is bowed as he looks, and you can see him sort of looking above his eyes, kind of like this, at what's going on. But it looks like a spirit. The spirit turns to Poe and says, Master Poe of Gate Pass, you have summoned me back from my rest. Questions 3 I will answer. Ask them, and
Really?
let me depart back to where I have gone to my reward. The voice doesn't sound like Laura Beck, but who knows with spirits, right? It's sort of like a call me back, you know, that kind of thing.
Apologies for disturbing you. First question is, please tell us everyone you know of who was responsible for or participated in your cause of death.
I do not know the men who caused my death. What I can tell you is that they were men and not elves. They bore bows stolen from the water and arrows filched from the boats. And when I was struck, they came to me and held my face in the water until I departed your plane. I do not know their names, nor under what circumstances they came to me, but they were men, not elves.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I'm talking.
What's your second question?
It wasn't a question. I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Hurry up, I have to go back.
So,
So she was by the water then.
right. I guess the next
You
question.
didn't ask her that. You asked her if she knew
Right.
the people who killed her. And she said she
Right.
didn't know them. They were
Right.
men, not elves. They shot her with arrows and then held her face under the water, which, yeah, would indicate that she was at the water.
Well, when they drowned her,
They drowned her in the water, yeah.
I guess I would need to
Maybe.
know how she got there or why she was at the water. Yeah, she painted a pretty clear picture of how it happened.
Yeah.
And that
So,
Well, you get the impression that she wants to help you as best she can, but that she's also
Right.
limited by the fact that she's a
right.
Can we
spirit.
ask her like what human, what man she
She
thought?
already said she didn't know him.
She said she didn't
Now,
know
she
them.
didn't know that these guys that killed her, but we didn't ask if she knew what men had a grudge against her specifically. That's what
Oh, well, there's a laundry list.
right. That's what I'm wondering.
How much time have you got? Well, no. So Laura, I mean, you guys would know that Laura Beck was a massive advocate for refugees. She was also a massive advocate for the city of Seaquen doing more to help the refugees. And she personally was, I mean, you don't know what the extent of her personal wealth might be or anything like that. She lived very Spartanly. And one gets the impression that whatever wealth that she might have brought to Seaquen was being distributed in service of the poor. She's always been a vocal opponent of Vordbert. And anyone who really was sort of like, and she's also been an advocate for elvish assistance. Now, you guys never really got a chance to talk to her about the elvish plan to sort of take over the council of Seaquen.
Right.
One would guess that she might have been somewhat sympathetic to that just because of her elven, that she was friends with the elves. But even then, she might have thought that was a bit too far.
A bit much.
Because she's always been a vocal proponent of individual liberty, kindness to refugees, and ensuring that people are treated with respect and decorum and provided with every possible avenue of service and food and water, all of those things. That is, and for a military person, and she was definitely a military person. She wore armor. She was a warrior. But when it came to the refugees, she was like, look, these people are not warriors. They shouldn't be treated like warriors. They need food, they need water, they need sanitation, they need help. And we should provide that to them. And she worked diligently to do that. And she opposed people who said, we need to cut off these refugees. We need to stop the help. We need to convert them into warriors or an army. She was very much an advocate for refugees from the point of view of, like, even though she was a warrior and she understood the warrior way, that she also understood very, very clearly that there are people who do not follow that and are not warriors and cannot defend themselves. And that was her charge, to defend those who could not stand up and help themselves.
I think we can assume since she didn't implicate Vordbert, she doesn't know anything about whether or not he was part of it, because she would have said.
No, she would have said that.
Yeah.
If Vordbert killed her, she would have mentioned it. But the reality is,
he's slimy enough. There's no way
he would have detailed it. I mean, you don't do your own murders, man. You have somebody else do them.
Yeah.
But
well, the question was who was responsible for and who participated. And so if she knew that he was responsible for it, then she would have.
Did, yeah.
But so
if she knew that he was responsible, she did not say that. She said it was men that killed me. They had wet bows and wet arrows, which means that you kind of interpret that as saying that these guys may have procured elvish weapons from the water during the battle.
Let's try this. Laura Beck, what were you trying to accomplish before you were killed?
I was trying to stop the fight that Vordbert had begun. I knew that the elves, especially Shalosh's father, had overstepped their bounds from a liberty standpoint, and I opposed him. But Vordbert's attack was the wrong answer to that provocation. I was provided information that the attack had begun. And so I went to the coast to try and forestall that, or at least alert the elves that the attack was about to take place. Because Vordbert's plan, at least as it was told to me, was that he was going to attack from stealth, from secret, as a sneak attack, a first attack, and that would be devastating to Shalosha and her men. And so I tried to at once forestall the attack and warn the elves. But I never got there. The attack had already commenced when I arrived at the riverbed, at the river edge. I commandeered a boat and went out to try and put a stop to it, to try and in hopes that I could convince both sides to end the fighting. It was then I was attacked.
So whoever,
Not long after I tried to leave the river edge.
whoever told you probably
Yeah.
was setting you up.
It was set up.
So should that be the third question?
I mean, it could be a setup, or, I mean, all of her people would have had her same mentality, and if they would have found out that, hey, they're attacking, they could have just been, hey, we know you're against this. This is what's going on. So
I
it
just,
might have been set up. It
seems
might
like
have just been
the
someone more
the person that told her is probably the only lead that we're going to get out of her. So
Actually, yeah, that's pretty good. So
if we can find out who that was, at least we've got something to follow up on.
that's a good. I didn't think about that. That's a great. Great.
All right, so that'll be the last question. Les, Laura Beck, who warned
who
you that
told
this
you?
was happening? Yeah.
It was Talindra Christmas. She came to me from the elves and told me that the attack had commenced.
Oh, so an elf did. Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Hmm.
I've known her as an associate of Shalostra's, and I assumed that her coming to me was at Shalosha's behest. That is why I made my way as quickly as possible to the river's edge.
Have the elves completely retreated, Les? Or
They have retreated, yeah. So there is a couple of elvish wrecks in the river. And you'll remember when you guys came out of the Pyromancer's prison, came back outside, you saw a flaming elvish ship floating sideways down the river, towards you. So, there was a fair amount of damage. But yeah, no, the elves have abandoned this place. The elves that were not destroyed, the blockade is gone. Which Vordbert has been highlighting as being, a huge victory for the people of Seaquen. And he's got some fishing boats and shit out there, but it's not even even remotely what the elves had. The elves had dozens of ships. There may be 15 ships patrolling a significant amount of water. The gaps are huge.
he's basically just opened this place up for Sir Gobbins to take over.
pretty much.
Well, if the Sir Gobbins are able to bring the heat from the river, a naval attack, well, there's certainly no elves there to protect us, where there was before.
And the elves did overstep their bounds a little bit, but they would have been allies against this. Now they're not. So that was a very effective tactic to kill the naval support and take away a pretty powerful ally.
Kama says, "Do you suspect that Vordbert is in league with the Sargovans? That this has all been some sort of ruse?"
We've already captured one that no one would have guessed.
Citadel. He was trusted, and has been here for over a decade. He was court hydromancer for 11 years more, at least from what I heard.
So we've already found one turncoat. With his attitude, it wouldn't surprise me.
Kama sort of looks down, and you could see the anger. You could hear his teeth sort of grinding.
Mhm.
He's like, the Sargovans, they have much to answer for. Much indeed. So that was the 3 questions?
Yeah, it was 3 of them, yep. Does Kama
She
have any
says-
way to get a hold of Shalosa's people? Is he in touch with any of the elves?
Alas, I was not. I've never, because he looks at him, he looks down at himself, he sort of gestures at himself. He is, the elves have never been friends to my people, and I, despite my allegiances, do not endear myself to the elves. So no, I have no connections there.
You know
Much-
who does here? You know if there's any groups here that would have?
I don't know of anyone here that could contact the elves directly. My understanding was that you had contact with the elves of the plains and elves of the forest coming here. That was the
Yeah, we did.
rumor. Perhaps you might exercise some of your contacts. Perhaps that would be of use. For I have none. I am a hunchback ogre of dubious parentage. No elf would deign to speak to me.
I'm speaking to you.
I am no elf. All right, so you see her spirit. She bids. She's like, Kama, your place is welcome when you join me. And you see she nods at Poe and she says, I bid you good luck. And falls back into her corpse. The spirit dissipates like smoke.
Wow.
Kama stands. Now what? What shall we do? Did you get the answers you needed? I heard the responses. If anything, my belief that Vordbert was behind this is even more reconciled. Now we have proof. It was men, not elves, that killed our liege. How do we strike?
Well, the first thing is to start telling people that so that the rumors that have been standing so far can be proved wrong. Or
I will tell my people. You can be assured of that. But, and he looks at you. Vorbert's power grows with each passing day. The refugees follow him. The people of Seaquen follow him. The cause of kindness and justice is not nearly as efficient as it was once.
he's
And if you'll
probably,
excuse me, I have to leave the pavilion for a moment and perhaps go to the little ogre's room. I'll be right back.
So he's angling to be a ruler once the Sargovans take over and basically just give him this place, but
Mhm.
wants to stay as a figurehead.
So maybe instead of vampire hunter, I should have taken a couple levels in assassin, and then we could just ended this right here and there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We
Just
need to
been done with
decide, do we do this legitimate? I mean, Poe is a neutral person. He doesn't need to follow laws. So he would probably lean towards just taking Vordbert out. That's what he would do, but I know
On my character sheet, it says chaotic good, but I'm thinking I'm playing my character pretty chaotic neutralish. So
yeah, but I mean, we do have Ono who's
lawful
not
good.
gonna- yeah, who's not going to want to be doing anything like that.
And we just send him down to the corner for an ice cream.
Hey, we're out of milk. Can you go to the corner store and get us some milk?
Yeah,
Take your time. Take your time. We'll just be back here in an hour.
yeah, sure. Glad to. Glad to help out. Anything for my friends.
Yes.
Anything.
I would say at least we have to start off trying to do this legit.
All right, so we need to try to track down. Well, we're not. I mean, the
We're kind of
person
stuck at this
was an
point.
elf, so yeah, we don't have a.
We've got proof that not very many people are going to believe.
The hole we've got is it. Talindra is an elf, so I mean, surely she wouldn't have been working with Vordbert, right?
No.
There weren't any other. I mean, elves are very I mean, they're very tight,
We can
right?
try, yeah, we can try and track her down.
But the
Who-
chance of
who
her
now?
being the
Basically,
elf that
she
told her about the attack.
Oh,
basically,
Talindra
Yeah.
Charisnus.
Yes, that.
yeah. So she knew the attack had started, and just basically reached out to people she thought could help.
Right.
I mean, she doesn't seem like someone that would be involved in it.
Doesn't seem like it would be a setup or would have been a setup.
No.
Right.
So maybe it was just an opportunistic thing that somebody saw her down there and took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Maybe. I just don't know how we're gonna prove that he had anything to do with it.
Right. We really can't with, I mean, even though, yeah, we
And we
can't with
set
what we've
him up
got
some-
right now. I'll be right back.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking though, Les, but I mean, elves aren't really,
Elves aren't usually swayed by that kind of.
yeah,
shit.
they're not generally turncoats, and unless,
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
generally money is not enough of a persuasion. But maybe they offer more than money. I mean, you don't know. You don't even know who this woman is.
I mean, we can go and talk to her
yeah, that's the only lead we have at this point. So
and try to read whether she's being forthright or whatever.
it would be good to try to figure out what happened to Shalosha too, see if she is still alive.
Well, they haven't found her body, but they haven't seen her since the battle. Now, that being the case, I mean, what you would know is that the elvish ships that weren't destroyed in the fight, once it became clear that the Seaquen attackers were going to be victorious, and they were fighting, a very ugly fight. Those, Jesus Christ, these what the fuck? Sorry, my cord is all wrapped up here. Hold on a second. They would have. So it's. I mean, they retreated essentially. So a lot of elvish ships retreated at that point and took off. But
And there's no elves here now, right? They're
no elves here. Well, I mean, there are still elves inside the thing, but inside the city. But they're not Shalosha elves. They are other elves, refugees, various people. So you know that, I mean, you guys remember that the elves of the plains had been doing running cavalry battles against the Sargavan attackers for a while, because you ran into several groups of them as you were on your way to Seaquen. So there was certainly there would have been elves in the plains that would have been displaced. So there are elves amongst the refugees that were not necessarily associated with Shalosha and her father's tribes. Now they are elves of the plains as well, but they are also quite nautical. They're guardians of the river, that kind of thing. But you know how elvish are. They're tribal. So you're talking about this Talindra may not have been of the tribe of Shalosha. What Lorbeck said was that she had known this elf before, trusted her, and one assumes that she might have been one of the elves of Shalosha's tribes or series of tribes, but we don't know that for a fact. And we don't know what became of this Talindra after the battle. Maybe if she was one of Shalosha's, she may have been killed. She may have escaped.
Right.
If she was not one of Shalosha's, she may still be in Seaquen. I mean, we just don't know.
Did you guys talk to Katarina when we got back last time? Me and Jennifer were gone. I don't know.
Not on purpose.
No, I don't think Katarina came up.
She still aggravates crap out of me, so.
But isn't she like a Pathfinder or something, or a roguish kind of knows what the hell's going on everywhere kind of person?
So you did get the impression that Katarina was connected to Simeon in some way, but in a very informal sense. So maybe sort of a rogue information gatherer or something like that. But I mean, they were obviously acquainted and reasonably friendly, but nobody has really explicated Katerina's role either at the Lyceum or in Seaquen itself.
I saw this is a big picture. I didn't realize she was an elf or a half elf or something.
Half elf.
Huh. She's still just annoying, but I just didn't realize she was a half elf.
Well, you know, half elf and annoying aren't mutually exclusive.
Oh, I kicked the annoying up to 11. So.
Eric's laughing. He's killing me over there.
So remind me about Simeon again, Les. What?
Simeon is a human.
He's
the head
of what though?
The Lyceum.
Yeah, the Lyceum, the magic school.
Okay. So he's possibly impartial. Has he seemed kind of above the politics, or does he seem like he's embroiled in them?
He has seemed to you, at least, that he is embroiled in them, but in large part by proxies, right? So the impression that you get from Simeon is that as the headmaster of the Lyceum, he has to sort of hold himself above and away of like petty politics, because he's a school teacher and not a politician. However, you definitely get the impression that he is influential in political circles, which I guess the best way to do is like imagine Seaquen is a college town, and the Lyceum is the college, and Simeon is the president of the college. So imagine the influence that he might have on that town as the president of the college, because the Lyceum is a big deal. It's literally the only magic school in the entire region, and Vondrum will be able to tell you that. Vondrum is a graduate of the Lyceum, unless I'm misremembering, correct?
No, you're right.
So Vondrum has been here and graduated from here, and largely most of the arcane practitioners of the region have either graduated from here or have attended here briefly or are in some way connected.
Vordbert is not magical, right?
Vordbert is a dwarven, as far as you know, a dwarven warrior.
Okay.
But he's also a consummate politician of the populist sort. All right. So I'm assuming that after this, Kama escorts you to the edge of the refugee campus. You guys head back into town and says, I want to thank you for allowing me to see my liege again one more time, even though her shape was spiritual and wispy. It was good to know that her soul, her spirit rests in the place that she desired. That gives me heart. It also gives me heart the question you asked, and I consider you now to be my allies in this. Whatever happens, know that I will aid you as best I can in the destruction of Vordbert and the reassertion of justice and goodness in this city. And he gives you he goes up to Poe and gives you an enormous hug, and you are sort of like trapped. And you're not a small guy, but he's big and strong. And
I'm tiny. I'm a dwarf. I'm like,
yeah, he just like picks you up. It's like, you are among my friends. All of you are now among friends of mine, because I know the esteem with you held my liege, and he remembered it well. I could see that.
How many people are in his the area that they're taking care of?
See, now you're asking me questions I don't know the answer to. I would say probably 400 or 500, okay, but I will get you a definitive answer on that.
And she seems like she was pretty well loved by everyone in this area. Is that?
Fucking loved. Okay. Everybody loved her because, I mean, one of the things that she did for her people, and it wasn't just her people, she tried to do as much for other people as well. But she bent her energies almost exclusively towards taking care of the people in her care. and making sure they had enough food, they had enough water, they had clean water, they had sanitation. She was a continual lobbyist amongst the council for more and better resources. She was the first in line when people said, we need to go here and do this to get this. She was the first in line. She was dedicated to the well-being of the people in her care, and not only the people in her care, but other people as well.
Okay, so they're gonna have a thing for her like in 2 days.
2 days.
Okay.
They're basically the way Kama described it is they're gonna give her to the sky, which means they're gonna build a pyre. They've already begun it. You've seen half of it. She's lying on it now.
Right.
And they're basically taking logs. See these forested areas, sort of like in this back area here. Oh well, you can't see it because I'm on a different fucking map. But there's a foresty area sort of to the rear of the green zone, and they are pulling big ash and alder logs out of there, and chopping them into sort of Lincoln log shapes, of which they are building a tower pyre.
I'm gonna, as we're partying, I'm gonna pull the half ogre aside, and I'm gonna give him 500 gold pieces of my share of what we've just got, and say, here, if there's a lot of sorrow here, make sure this provides everyone who shows up to pay their respects with a good meal and good ale, and then just tell them this is from her, and this is her last, gift to them or whatever.
He looks at the bag and he looks at you. He says, "You are truly a friend to Lorbeck. I will see to it that it is done as you ask. Thank you."
But
Kama, keep in mind, we suspect Vordbert, but it's all circumstantial right now. We don't have the proof we need to convict him of anything.
Between my own suspicions and your confirmations with Lorbeck's spirit, I have one mind of this. I need no further proof to know that Vordbert has done this to my liege, and I have now dedicated my efforts to revenge. It is my hope that you will aid me in this, and my trust that you will, because I see in your eyes that you feel the same. Especially Titus, who looks incredibly angry.
We do, but there's a larger picture here that we have to be aware of. We don't want the Sargavans to come in and basically swoop in with or without Vordbert. That is possibly going to happen now because the elves are gone. So we need to be aware of the bigger picture and try to get back what this community had with the elves, because right now we're very vulnerable.
He takes, so at this point when you mention that, Kama takes on sort of a sort of serene look almost. He says, the Sargavans will come regardless of what we do. What happens then is up to us.
Right. So let's try and get proof first. Lorbeck wouldn't have wanted us to go off on revenge. She would have wanted justice is one thing.
I do not plan to go off on revenge.
Okay.
But if when the moment is right, I will avenge her, as we will avenge her. I trust that you will be party to that. I can sense the gods' will in this. That you and I will be aligned in this vengeance.
Very much so. All right.
He leads you to the edge of the refugee camp and he says, I am pleased to make your acquaintance and to call you friend. I am glad that you were able to speak to my liege and bring more information and arouse your suspicions. The future looks good to me, and I will assist you in any way I can. You are welcome here at any time. Speak my name and you will be brought to me.
Will do.
I must take care of my people now.
Yep.
Good day. He turns and walks back into the thing. All right, so you guys sort of walk back. I'm assuming where are you guys going? I mean, it's like mid to late afternoon. The sun is out. It's a little bit swampy here because of all the rain, but it's not unpleasant.
I think we should go to the Lyceum and try to feel out what Simeon's position is on this, and if he might.
So far, he's been the only one that we think we can trust. So until he shows a different color, I'm okay with kind of sharing with him what we found out and get his
Right.
take on
Yeah,
things.
I think we need to exactly tell him what we've discovered and see what he does, because he's either
All
going to try to, gloss it over and say that no way if he's aligned with the people that we're not aligned with, or he's going to get behind us pretty quickly, I think.
Okay, so you guys go to the Lyceum to meet Simeon.
I would agree with that.
All right. Once you reach the Lyceum borders, these guys know you now, and you're just like waved past the gates. You reach the tower in which Simeon's offices are in, and again, you're waved through. In this case, there's a couple of guards. So one thing you notice as you come in there are more guards, and they're dressed in different livery. Not totally different, but it's like they have different badges now, which is strange. You're not sure what that means, but and there are more of them. So when you arrive, there's like 4 guards at the main gate, and 2 of them actually escort you upstairs to Simeon's office. Simeon's in his office, and he's looking there, and he's behind his desk, and he's got this like weird sort of curved desk. He's got all these papers and books and shit on. And you can see as you go, and you can hear his voice. They're like, Simeon, the jackasses from Gate Pass are here, and he's like, oh, send them in. And so you guys go in there, and he's looking. He's like, my friends, come in. It's like, look, you get wine and refreshments. And you can see, however, that one thing that you've noticed that historically had never been in Simeon's office. You can see a gibbet in Simeon's office, which is basically this large sort of bird cage like thing, which is sitting there on the floor. It's got a huge lock on the front with a little gate, and it's obviously iron or steel bars which are coming out, and they're maybe this far apart, so it's very difficult to see into. There doesn't seem to be anybody in it, but it's sitting off to the side in his office, and it was not there before.
I would call him out. I was like, so redecorating?
He looks at you, and he's like, and at first he seems confused. He's like, oh yes, the cage. Yes, we have had a few moments to talk with Sidoneth.
Gotcha. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully there was some value that came of it.
We learned a great deal, mostly about his perfidiousness, but we did learn some things. I'm glad you're here, actually. He's like, and then refreshments arrive, and he's like, please serve yourselves and help. We have wine and we have sandwiches. They're made of cucumbers and Wonder Bread. It's delicious.
Wonder Bread.
You still make Wonder Bread? I haven't seen that in a while.
Oh, they're getting Wonder Bread from Sargava. It's imported on the river. I think they make Wonder Bread. I mean, realistically, yeah, they make Wonder Bread, don't they?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
we
so.
still have Wonder Bread.
And
Okay.
bunny bread.
That's what I get at the grocery store.
That's what I said. Bunny
Bunny
bread.
bread.
I love that commercial. So I don't know
Before
what
we
kind
get, before we get into any sort of larger issues, I'm going to ask him if there's been any word from the people that he sent to
Oh
Gate
yeah.
Pass to try to free the specific people we asked for.
Yes, there has been actually. In the last 24 hours, we have heard word that your mother is safe, and she's being protected in Gate Pass right now by the people we sent. Did you guys have other people that you were interested in, or was it just her?
Well, no, as far as I'm concerned, it was just her. But
Yeah.
I wanted to be
So he will
the
tell you
chance that somebody else cared about somebody else.
she is alive. She is being protected right now in Gate Pass by the people he sent. So she's well. She's got food and water, and she's safe. They're looking at options to try and bring her here. There are some problems with the teleportation, so that's not working as well as we'd hoped. But they're staying in place until we sort those problems out. So it may be some time, but he's like, I can assure you that she is safe. She is alive. She is being taken care of.
And at this point,
I'll
if
check.
we
I
think
forget.
And he's like, I'm glad you brought that up, because I had as a DM, I totally forgot about that.
Well, we're here
So-
to keep you off kilter.
So, why are you here?
Huh?
You guys came here.
Yeah, we found some stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Do tell.
So
Well, so
Okay.
he's very interested. And he actually gets out some papyrus and a few quills, and he's like, "Please tell me what you've learned."
I'll give him the short version.
Okay. He writes down a bunch of notes, that kind of stuff. He's like, "That is interesting. It confirms my suspicions, frankly. I knew Laura Beck very well. I consider her to be a good friend of mine, and for her to join Vordbert in this ill-conceived battle, and impolitic battle, seemed quite beyond her. To know that she was killed is disconcerting. That she was killed, and frankly, let's be honest. Let's be honest. We all think the same thing. That it was Vordbert who ordered her murder, and he's probably did the same to Xavius. He is consolidating his power. He is eliminating his enemies. I don't know that we can think about this in any other way other than that's what this was.
Yep.
I will make sure that my friends know of this, but ultimately, I am a schoolmaster. I have no real political power here other than economic and, to a lesser extent, thaumaturgical. In fact, if anything, my star has waned a little bit with the capture and subsequent confession of Sidoneth. Sidoneth was a friend of mine. Sidoneth was my hand-picked hydromancer. He had been a teacher here and hydromancer to this town for the last decade, and I considered him to be a good friend. His betrayal, such as it is, outside of the damage that he's already caused, has negatively impacted my reputation here fairly significantly. He was my friend. I put him up for the job. I supported him. And frankly, I disbelieved the idea that he could be at all responsible for this until it became obvious that he was. No, Sidoneth is alive. I am not. And so he's sort of like, he looks shyly. He's like, I'm not a murderer. And frankly, Sidoneth was happy to talk about what he had done. He was strangely open with us about how and why he had been turned to the Sargavan cause. I think between you and me, I think he felt guilty about it, at least subconsciously. And he might have been afraid about the nut punches, but he gave us, as far as we could tell, he gave us almost everything.
Okay.
Did you ask him about Vordbert and whether they had worked together at all?
We did. According to him, and between you and me, I at this point do not have a ton of reason to believe that he is lying. He told us that he and Vordbert had never worked together and were frankly not connected to each other in any way. They weren't working together. And I believe that.
Okay. Could you help us find or track down an elf?
A specific elf in the refugee camps? I can try, but I don't know how successful I would be. Do you have a name or any sort of indication of who this person might be?
Yeah, whatever elf that.
Talindra?
Yeah, that one.
All right. He takes out the name. He's like, I've never heard of her, but I will send out scouts among the elven communities and see what I can find.
Other than that, we're kind of at a loss right now.
As am I. Our town is in flux. We've lost the protection of the elves due to our own actions. The person who, removed that protective barrier is now desperately trying to consolidate power. I'm not sure what's to become of us. I feel like we are vulnerable, but I think that now that you stand with us, that we may have some efforts that we can engage in. Is there anything else that I can help you with?
Magic. Yeah, we haven't figured that out yet.
Okay. Well, let me know when you do, and we'll make that happen.
Like I said, in game, our characters already have done this, so we can get this going. But I'm just saying,
Right.
our
Gotcha.
other players have not figured out what they already told them. So,
Okay. So what do you do next? Is there a place you're going next after you leave the Lyceum? Home.
Disney.
Disneyland. I don't know. I'm kind of like,
Oh, I forgot. Did Simeon know where Katerina is?
Well, if you ask her, she's like, well, she keeps her own hours, but she does come here quite a bit. He'll look at you and say, look, I rely on Katerina to provide me information of what's going on in the city and in the refugee camps, but that requires her to be away from the Lyceum quite a bit. He'll look at you and say, she's quite valuable to me. So if you guys have a problem with her, Arendar, then
He's just got a crush on her.
You should probably not kill this very valuable NPC.
I guess, yeah, I got a hate on for her.
Would you tell her next time you see her that we would like to talk with her?
Of course. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Where's Vordbert now?
I have no idea. I assume that he is continuing to spend the bulk of his time amongst the refugees in the Purple Zone. He has been very successful in recruiting them to his cause. But although, if you want to know specifically, his manor house is, hold please. Okay, his manor house is here. So he's, Jesus Christ. See the orange square?
Yep.
That's his manor house.
One of the bigger places in the town.
He's recently, it's definitely one of the nicer places in town, and he's recently begun expanding it and fortifying it. And so that's something that Simeon would be like,
this is what a dictator does.
Yeah, this is, he's got about 50 people there right now. Not right now, but I mean, potentially right now. Who are now digging a ditch around the outside of his manor. They are definitely building a palisade on the other side. So they're essentially digging a moat, and frankly, they're making great progress on it. Now, those of you who are our martial characters will know that there's a phrase that says there is no fortress without a ditch. Ditches are huge when it comes to building a fortress, and it could be that he is fortifying this manor house in a way that makes sense in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
Not going to stop a Sargavan army, though.
No, but if maybe the Sargavan army wants to use it as a headquarters, once they take Seaquen and deal with a guerrilla army, that might help. Or maybe he just wants to protect himself. And he's got the resources to do it now.
And not to say I told you so, but if y'all had let me murder that little bastard 19 sessions ago, none of this would have happened.
Sessions ago.
I told you day one.
Yeah.
Well, just because the story plot is obvious, Chuck, doesn't mean we should fall for it.
Obviously it does.
We'd be playing a totally different game then. We'd have to play an E-team.
E-team.
F-team.
Yeah. So, all right. Les, I'm metagaming.
Yes.
Where to go next? If
Okay.
if we've missed a hook.
Okay.
I would like to go make sure, like my character Arendar would like to go personally make sure that the woman that he found in the ruins is taken care of and is not being harassed. If that is
Okay, so yes, so
if
Go
that's
ahead.
the part that you can role play here, great. If that's so far off the beaten path that I'll just send you some emails, we can do it that way too.
let's do that.
So I'm just letting you know I'm
Let's
at a
do
loss.
it by email.
Okay.
Okay.
Chuck will be on that too. So
All right, cool. All right, so yeah, so you guys leave the Lyceum and you guys head back out into the city. Again, you guys are well known or relatively well known, so there's a lot of like, hey, you guys are the guys, you know, that kind of thing. You eventually get moved back to your as you get close to what was once Citadin's house, but is now your house.
right.
You can see that there are two people out front, sort of like sitting on your porch. Both of them have sort of like scraps of leather armor and short swords. One has a crossbow, which is loaded, by the way, sitting on the ground next to him. And they're just sort of like hanging out and like talking to each other. You see
right,
them
well,
easily like 50 to 60 feet away before you get to the house.
All right, kids, get off my lawn.
You want me to
Best
try
old
to
man impression ever.
try to move up and scout?
Yeah, why don't you spend a few minutes to get ready, and then I'll just approach them head on and find out what's going on, and you can cover me in case it goes. I doubt anything's going to happen, but
Yeah.
What about the rest of you? What are you guys going to do?
all the rest of us can go up. But
Yeah, I'll stick with Arendar.
Okay.
that wraith off to the side and ready.
I'm gonna
to
step
walk
off
people.
the path and stealth and
Oh,
move
no?
up towards the house.
Oh no, Titus, what about you guys?
I'll go with the group.
Okay. Oh no, what about you?
With the group.
All right, so you guys continue to,
honor
all right,
with me.
32 stealth check. All right, so Wraith, you disappear into
He
the neighbor's.
literally disappears. Doesn't
Yeah, you disappear into the neighbor's bushes and nobody sees you again. So you guys approach, when you guys get to be about 40, 35 feet away, both of these guys stand up. Now, the guy hasn't picked up his crossbow, but you can see that he's sort of on a lower step than the other guy. There's a series of like 3 or 4 steps. And this guy has a crossbow on one of the lower steps, and he's staying close to it while the other guy is like higher up. The other guy's like, hello? Are you Arendar and his companions and Vondrum and Titus? Is that who you are?
Yes.
Well, my lord has wished to speak with you at his home.
Who's your lord?
My lord Vordbert,
That's fun.
constable of Seaquen,
That's,
wishes to speak with you and invite you to dinner.
that's funny.
I see no mirth in it. He has sent us here to bid you welcome and to bid you to come to his home, the fortress of Vordbert, if I could speak, and enjoy an evening of repast and discussion. He has much words to exchange with you and bids us to bring you to invite you to his place to this evening.
Well, we've got some words for him too.
Are those words "get fucked, dwarf"? Because those are not the words he wishes to hear.
Those were pretty close, actually.
Perhaps a thesaurus might be in mind here.
That's too much work.
Ah, thesaurus is only work until you use it, I assure you. Please, may we enter and proffer the invitation appropriately. The other guy, the lower guy, the guy lower down, he's looking at you guys, and so Wraith, you can see this guy. This guy has chops, and he is definitely bodyguard material. The other guy is, you think, a voice box. The crossbow guy, he has a crossbow there, but he also you see he also has a short sword loosened in his thing, and you can see. Give me Wraith, give me a quick perception check. 18. All right. So you see that at the bottom of his scabbard is a little sort of bulb of sorts. It's like you have a regular size scabbard, and at the bottom is sort of like this little circular area. You're not sure what that's, and it's just part of the scabbard. It looks like it, and frankly, on first glance, it looks decorative, but then you're like, wait a second,
Like poison?
Poison.
it's possible. It's possible it could be a poison reservoir.
Do I see this?
Give me a perception. Yeah, you definitely see it with your natural fucking 20. Not only that, you can see the stitching on the man's underwear, which says out, which spells out assassin in sort of hieroglyphics. No, yeah, you definitely see that his scabbard has this weird sort of like bulb at the end of it.
All right.
Please, sir, Lord Arendar, and the rest of you, Lord Titus, Lord Ono, Lord Vondram, and Lord Poe, please, and you can see he sort of looks around. He doesn't say anything. Please allow me entry to your domicile so that I might proffer the invitation from my Lord Vordbert in person.
Oh, you can do it right there, just fine.
As you wish. And he moves forward, and you can see that he reaches into his vest and pulls out like a big envelope. And he comes within 5 feet of you, and he says, Lords, please accept this invitation on behalf of my liege, Lord Vordbert, that you may join him tonight for dinner and drinks and discussion at his domicile. And if I have to throw a few more, if I have to throw a few more D's in there, I would be happy to do so, you damn dudes.
I'm gonna
We're
use
so
sleight of,
important. Why isn't this guy asking us himself?
Lord Vordbert is a very busy man.
And we're very busy too.
After the battle of the Seaquen River, in which he and his forces defeated the elvish interlopers, you can imagine the administrative task that he must be performing.
Can you imagine the paperwork we're drowning in right now?
Sorry, I really don't understand the question. Paperwork? You say? There will be no paperwork. He simply wishes you to join him for dinner tonight. Will you accept? Please say yes.
Send him over and ask us in person.
Obviously, my lord is an amazingly busy man. He has sent me in this regard to come to you and ask with all humbleness that you might join him for dinner this evening.
I don't like it, but I don't see any other answer that we can give him, so.
I want to pickpocket his
say that again.
thesaurus so he shuts the hell up.
What are you gonna do?
Pickpocket his thesaurus.
Who has taken my thesaurus? Who's stolen it? I'm without words now.
So
I cannot speak anymore.
Come now, please.
we are accepting this, right? This is a question.
I want an in-person invitation.
He's not gonna come and do it in person.
Well, how do we know it's him?
All right, that's a question I did not anticipate. I mean, you don't know it's him. That's true.
If we're lords.
So
and
this
we're that important.
jackass has been referring to you as lords, but I
Right.
mean,
We're not.
he's also been referring to Vordbert as a lord too, Lord Vordbert.
Lord Vader.
Not lords. Like I said, I'm not comfortable here, but anything we can get him to say, and I don't think we should tip our hand when we do go see him, what we know yet, to give him a chance to refute that. So I'd say we go pretend to be accepting this and see what we can get out of him. Obviously, Aaron was not saying this out loud with Tweedledee and
Sometimes I
Tweedledee.
resent the voice of reason.
Okay.
Does everybody agree with that?
Okay.
You get a strong mental image. of not killing assholes when we had the chances. How we got into this mess.
Yeah,
This will give you one more chance, right?
yeah. All right. I tell him in a normal voice. I walk up closer to the bodyguard, so I'm closest to this guy, and tell him, yes, we'll accept.
Oh, excellent, excellent. My Lord Vordbert will be extremely gratified that that you have decided to come to dinner tonight. Is there any particular feast issues that you must deal with? He goes, some people have allergies and whatnot. My understanding is that it will be roast beef off the bone and roasted goose. Does that disagree with any of you?
Well, just like anyone else, we require a deposit to hold our reservation.
My lord, oh no. I assure you there will be plenty of vegetables, locally grown and delicious, that will be available too.
So as I accept the invitation,
Mhm.
like half level, I'm gonna lean down to the other guy and tell him that poison is for hacks that have no skill.
He looks at you and he's like, remains to be seen.
Okay.
Picks up his crossbow and departs with the other guy. He's like, we will see you tonight. We look forward to having you as a guest in Lord Vordbert's home.
Something like that.
Be well until then.
We're coming armed by the way, just saying.
They both leave. So you guys have a date with Lord Vordbert.
Yeah.
Are there any preparations that you're doing? So you enter the house of Sidoneth. Sidoneth's old house is now your house. You guys have basically, I mean, it's a nice single-story manor on the coast. It has a great view of the bay. There's a dock. There's also a boat tied up to the dock, so that obviously belongs to you guys as well. It's not huge. It's about a 15-foot sailboat, and it's just sort of like tied there. The house itself is large and well proportioned with many windows. The basement is there's no must down there, but it's small. By and large it's what you would consider a storage cellar at best. Are there any things that you guys want to do before you go see Vordbert?
I told the guy before he left we're coming as we are.
Was this the first time
Really,
we've been
I
in this
felt like
house?
we should shower and brush our
No,
teeth.
it's not. It's you guys have investigated this house before it.
Okay.
Meaning I'm not coming without armor and weapons and whatnot.
Okay. What about the rest of you? Oh no? I'm assuming you're bringing your nut punching skills.
I'm, you know,
We
He's
rely
a
heavily
dwarf
on his
and
nut
low.
punching skills.
Okay.
oh no, it's gonna just mentally prepare for a punch fest.
Got it. Okay. Poe, Vondram, what about you guys?
I'm not going to do anything specific. Just keep on my toes.
I'm
Okay.
gonna eat before I go because I'm not planning on eating anything that bastard's making.
Okay. Titus, what about you? Anything that you're going to plan on dealing with before you go?
I'm gonna shower, brush my teeth, shave.
Okay. Got it. So you want to look at your best. High charisma.
And I want to hone all my spells so they're deadly sharp.
Okay. Honed to perfection. All right. So you guys begin making your way at the, a little bit before the
Well, wait
the
a
time
second.
you.
I'm gonna talk to the group.
Okay.
Since that guy didn't see me. And
He did not.
didn't reference me, so doesn't know about me one way or the other. Do you want me to go with you? Or do you want me to stay out of the party, stay stealthy, and
I'd rather you go with rather have you
affect
with
what
us.
affect what I can from outside?
I
Because
can
if you
cast invisibility on you.
well, that seems if I go in, that would be important. But you also don't know if he has anything in his house that could break that. Basically, what I'm talking about is, do you want me to stay outside? In the case that you end up having to kill some people and fight your way out, you've got support with his 50 guards in the perimeter in a hole or in a ditch? Or do you want me to actually, I mean, I could be the wild card or I could show myself and go in with you. There are benefits to both.
Yeah. I can't imagine, since lots of people like us and he's going for power, he's not going to bring us in and attack us.
That's how I feel too. I don't think we're really in jeopardy here. I mean,
No.
he could get us later, but I don't think today is the day.
No. I'm still going to go in on guard. This is more, like I said, I don't think we should tip our hand as far as what we know and how we know it.
We should act like we have no fear because we don't see him as what we see him.
Yeah, I wasn't kind to the guy before, so I'm not going to be kind now.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to change my attitude because, like I said, I don't. Obviously, this guy's slimy enough and scheming enough to be good at taking out his rivals and getting his way and doing it all and making himself look good. So he's got political chops that our characters don't have.
Right. Especially me with my
Right.
crap charisma. So that's what I'm saying. Do you want me to stay outside and be support or go in?
I'd rather have you inside and be support.
Because if you're going into somebody's house, it's a little difficult to carry a bow stealthily.
No. I told the guy we're
Just
coming
slip
up
it
with
down
that.
your pant leg or something.
I'll cast
Yeah.
invisibility on Wraith.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm taking my stuff. I mean, I'm not going to come out with, I'm not going to walk into his house with a falcata in my hand. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
walking
wearing your
with all my
sword and
stuff.
scabbard, wearing your sword in its scabbard is normal.
Right.
Carrying a giant longbow,
Well, longbow you can kind of put over your shoulder and just kind of be wearing it, be a little awkward, but
The likelihood is there's gonna be a bunch of guys at the front door who say, "All right, yeah, here, we'll take your weapons, we'll hang them here,"
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It's just in general, it's not considered to be appropriate to wear a falcata to dinner.
I do
right?
it all the time.
Well, if they're serving
Yes,
steak, I
but
think
you're an
it's
but you're an
entirely
insane
appropriate.
person.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you're going into somebody's house, it's not going to be unusual for them to ask you to disarm to sit at the dinner table.
Especially since you're in a city that isn't currently at war.
There was just a big war here that this guy started.
Very briefly.
And
And he won. Hold that thought. You guys talk about yourself. I'll
So
be right back.
basically, I'm not going to be able to bring the bow.
If you're invisible, you can.
I don't know that that's really the best idea if our intent is to not show fear, like this is all perfectly normal, so that we don't tip our hand.
That's not
Right.
showing fear. That's not showing anything. You're
Bringing
invisible.
an invisible party member into the dinner party it seems somewhat sketchy.
Right. And you'll
Well-
invisibility to keep him invisible the whole time.
All right. Length of time becomes an issue with just invisibility, and it kind of doesn't work. That's why I mean it's whatever you guys think, but if I go, I'm gonna end up being able to possibly sleight of hand a dagger. And that's it. If I stay outside and figure out a way to infiltrate while you're having dinner, then I would be much more useful if basically stuff went sideways.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing we can do is spend some money and get a handy haversack or some kind of bag of holding where we can store our things with us.
I was thinking about getting one of those for Vondram to put alchemic fires and whatnot into, because I think that's a safer way to carry them, so you don't end up in a pile of your own alchemic fire, having fallen off a 4-foot cliff or something stupid.
That sounds very specific.
I think, let's see here. Where is it at?
Suspense is killing me.
Handy haversacks are 2,000 gold pieces.
So all of us could easily do it.
And
All of us
effectively,
don't need
everyone,
it.
yeah, everyone has 12,000 gold pieces to spend on an equal share. So I'm assuming at this point, since this is already done but not done because it takes time,
Right.
if you wanted a haversack, you could probably already have one.
So that way we can take
At
weapons.
least
and-
one or two of us could, so.
Yeah.
Assuming
Well,
again that that's something that the mages in the Lyceum could.
They can absolutely make that.
Okay, there you go.
That's a
So-
low-end item.
If you want a handy haversack, then basically just subtract 2,000 from your total and have one.
Okay, and if you want to borrow it for whatever you're up to, I didn't catch what you wanted to use it for.
No,
If we just have a
If-
couple of us to have them, instead of walking in with weapons and have them taken, we can say
Oh,
just give
oh, I
them,
see.
yeah,
give them to
Okay.
people
You could hide-
that knows, and all
Yeah, I
weapons
gotcha.
can be crammed
I
in
gotcha.
there.
I got
and
you.
then somebody goes to dinner with a backpack.
Not a
I gotcha.
backpack, just a handy haversack is just like a little pouch, like a belt pouch kind of thing.
Is it? I thought it was a backpack because it
I
has
thought it was
three
a
separate.
backpack too.
A backpack of this sort appears to be well made, well used, and ordinary.
Oh, it is back, okay, I thought it was a smaller.
Two side pouches, each of which appears large enough to hold about a quart of material. In fact, each is like a bag of holding and can actually hold material of as much as 2 cubic feet in volume or 20 pounds. The central portion is 8 cubic feet or 80 pounds. Even when filled, the backpack always weighs only 5 pounds. And the other benefit is you reach your hand into any of the packs that it has, and you automatically get what you ask for.
Right, you don't have to dig around for it.
No digging around and fumbling is necessary to find what the haversack contains.
So, will this guy know what a haversack is?
Oh, I'm sure.
So that's a problem.
I think they're actually made to be, to not radiate magic and to look like normal items. I think that's one of the things about them that's,
I don't know
Yeah.
if you cast like if it's in a loot pile and you cast detect magic, it will
Think it
almost
would go
certainly
up.
detect the presence of a handy haversack.
Well, the
What I mean, the likelihood is that if he did cast detect magic on you, he'll probably spot the haversack. What he can't do is spot what's in it.
right. And it's craft wonders item and secret chest.
yeah, that's
So
not,
from a Lyceum standpoint, they can absolutely make you as many handy haversacks as you want.
Okay.
there is another item that is not detectable magic wise. I can't remember what it is. I thought it was a handy haversack, but it must be something else.
I'd have to look, but I believe handy haversacks are detectable.
Yeah, it is. I looked at it. It's got a conjuration moderate.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, we can always try diplomacy to tell him, it's a haversack, it's our guinea pig, she's giving birth and she needs to be left alone.
Or guinea pig.
Or puppies or whatever.
Quite
I
creative.
mean, we can come up with something reasonably plausible with the diplomacy check. Go, oh, I love guinea pigs.
They are squeaky. I'll give you that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We had guinea pigs for a while. My wife is a teacher, so obviously it was the law, but all right. So do you guys know what you guys are doing to go to this thing at Vordbert?
Yeah, one or two of us are getting handy haversacks and we're throwing stuff in it.
Okay. So you're
Well-
throwing your weapons, what, like weapons and armor? You're not wearing armor.
I'm wearing armor because mine's kind of fancy looking.
Mine's kind of like part of my clothing. I mean,
Yeah. It would look kind
Alright.
of like,
All
look
right.
funny without it.
I mean, none of us have like the big metal plates of armor that, you know.
No.
it's
Okay.
not-
I
it's
got
not
a
All right.
gold plate or
Are
gold.
haversacks like bags of holding if they get erased or deleted? Whatever you have is gone.
No. Bags of holding, you throw stuff in there. It's like a handy haversack, only bigger.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Bags of holding, some of them are big enough that you could put an entire laboratory in them.
yeah.
Yeah, but basically they're all the same. It's a pocket to the ethereal plane.
Yep.
So as far as this plane's concerned, there's nothing in it.
It's a big bag. It's a 2 foot by 4 foot bag.
Yeah.
Okay.
because you keep everything is
But like a TARDIS, you can jam
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff in there. That I mean, it's bigger on the inside.
right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 30, 70, 150, or 250 cubic feet.
All
Uh,
right.
haversacks are smaller, but whenever you reach into it, whatever you're looking
Yeah.
for is always on top.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm sure we can come up with some kind of reason why he cannot examine our haversack.
Okay. Sounds good. You guys go. So you guys spend a couple of more hours and you go to this place.
Sure.
Okay. You get within about 100 feet of this place, and you can see and hear the work that's going on. There are dozens of people that are working in various ways around this thing. Most of them are devoted to digging out what is obviously a very deep and significant trench around the thing. They're shoring it up, because of the, I mean, this is a peninsula on a lake, so the water table is low, but so they're shoring it up and pumping water out with these big bellows looking things so they can work, but it's obvious that ultimately that thing will be filled with water. There's a big sort of rudimentary bridge that goes across the work that they've done, that you guys approach. As soon as you get close to the bridge, a couple of people will run out, people you haven't seen before, and they're like, the capturers of Citadel, you have arrived. Thank you for coming. We will bring you inside. Is there anything that you require before we enter the manor?
Beatles White Album.
The itch of the nose was mean. It wasn't a thing. The Beatles' White Album. I bought it on CD and MP3 and LP and 8-track. We have all of those. Please let us know what you require. It sucks in every single mechanism.
Yeah. We don't have the mechanism to play them, but we've got them all.
No, basically they say like, come with us, and they lead you across the bridge into what looks to be a enormous, sort of very delightfully decorated sort of open area, like a reception area. There are a lot of guards here. They do not have livery, but you can see some of them are wearing certain badges that you could sort of only identify from here, and they have a sort of crossways look to them, and that you think maybe that may be some sort of insignia. Very soon you see a couple of people come out of a second set of doorways, and these, at least one of them is the guy that you talked to at the house, and he's like, welcome to Lord Vordbert's manor. We are so pleased that you could make it tonight. Please let me escort you into the dining room. I must apologize beforehand. Any weapons or cloaks and things like that you wish to divest yourselves up, please, our porters will take care of it. And literally like 4 guys come over, and they're standing next to you like, we're here to take whatever you need.
They look like porters.
They look like porters. I mean, they don't look like warriors in any way. They're not threatening. They're largely teenagers, and they have a skinny look about them. Your guess is that these guys were taken out of the refugee camps. They have a refugee look about them.
Frankly, I'm a little offended that you think we would go against decorum and diplomacy. I expect an apology forthwith.
The guy looks at you a little like, and then you see his eyes soften. He's like, of course, my Lord Titus, I apologize. I understand that I recognize now that you understand the rules of decorum. I can't imagine that you or any of your friends would bring anything akin to a weapon into this place when it is only a friendly dinner amongst comrades. Please, come in. He's like, look, boys, off with you.
Apology
Please,
accepted. Thank you for your gracious hospitality.
Of course, it is my pleasure and my obligation. Please follow me into the room. And he leads you, he's like, come with me. And he leads you into what is a long hall, a large room, probably 80 feet long, 40 feet wide. And in the center of it is an enormous table. There is probably 20 chairs around this table. There's a couple of people at the end of the table, but at the very end of the table, up jumps somebody and comes rushing over. And he's like, welcome, friends. I am so glad to see you. I am so glad this worked out. It's obviously Vordbert. He comes up to Arendar first of all. He's like, Arendar, so good to see you. Your exploits have chased me. He grabs your hand in both hands and he's like shaking your hand. He's like, Lord Titus. You, sir, have done so much for this city. I am in your debt. And he goes to each of you in turn, and he's very effusive and that kind of stuff. Please, please, friends, when he's done, please, friends, come with me, join me, come to the table, come to the end of the table. This table is insanely long. I acquired this place from somebody who apparently liked long tables. It's not my thing. Come to the end of the thing. We will have a drink. And perhaps some hors d'oeuvres, and we will discuss all of the things, the great things that are happening in Seaquen now. Please come with me. And he turns around without even asking and goes the other way. You can see him sort of like as he approaches, he sort of like goes with one hand very delicately, and the 2 or 3 people that he was talking to sort of just like skedaddle. Servants immediately come out. They grab the plates. Boom, gone, new plates, new glasses, new stuff. Wine guys come out and they plant a couple of things in it. Even before you get to the end of the table, it's all set up. He goes around and grabs a seat. He's like, please sit down. Sit down. We have wine. We have ale for those of you who want it. We have, I have some delicious food on the way. Please sit down. We have so much to talk about. I am so much in your debt for the things that you did. You've captured Sidoneth, the Aaron Hydrometer, and I can't help but say that you have been an enormous boon to this city. You have been friends to the city. We had no reason to ask you. You came from Gate Pass. You came across the plains. Your travel was troublesome. You fought so many barriers to get here, and honestly I think that's what made you so willing and so amenable to fighting on our behalf in this, that you have fought so hard to come here, that I think that you've exemplified everything that we hold dear here in Seaquen. And I'm just so glad that you've come to have dinner with me. Please drink. And at that point, sausages and things come out, and they're like, please eat, drink. My home is your home tonight. I am so glad that you came. Thank you.
We have a sense motive check from
17. So Arendar does a sense motive check. So and Poe is doing a 15 sense motive check. Titus is doing a 18 diplomacy check. That's earlier. He seems so effusive. He seems so pleased that, I mean, you can't help but think that he is actually pleased that you are here. Please eat, drink. Let us.
I feel like you're being a little too familiar with us. I feel like, as the heroes that you are treating us as and saying we are, I think you need to earn that familiarity.
Master Conundrum, I apologize. If I've been too familiar, forgive me. I am solely driven by the fact that you have done so much for my beloved Seaquen. And frankly, I'm a bit in awe of what you've done here.
Where's my friend's veggie platter?
The veggie platter has arrived, and it is filled with deliciously veggies. No, he's like, look, I understand what you're saying. You have done so much for my city, my beloved Seaquen.
Let's
That
cut to the
I apologize if I've been more than effusive.
Why are we
I
here?
apologize I have crossed the thing.
Why are we here?
Why are we here? Well, so I've always heard tell about you guys, and it appeases me is that you're very much a cut to the chase sort of thing. I am as well. So you asked me why you are here. Here's why. As you can imagine, and as you've probably heard, I've defeated the elves that have for so long blockaded our city. I have recruited an army that will fight the Sargavans. And you have, in turn, done an immense amount of work. Your antipathy for the Sargavans is well known. You have fought hard, you have fought bravely, and you have fought successfully. So I've asked you here tonight, Titus, because I wish you to join with me. Simple as that. I can assure you that you will have remuneration, support from a magic, support from a military sense, but I want you to work with me. You have done a great deal of interesting things and deliberate things on behalf of Simeon and those members of the Lyceum. I think you're looking a bit too short a field. I think you can be brilliant in the field on behalf of Seaquen and on behalf of our city in general. So what I'm brought you here to do, and what I'd hope to wine and dine you in an effort to convince you, is to tell you to join with me, become a covert operations group in my stead, and help me to fight against the Sargavans on the plains and into the cities. I believe that we have the start of something big here. Seaquen has always been a holdout, always been independent. And with the refugees that are pouring in, if we were to train them, if we were to arm them, I think that we could build an army that could stand in the plains in a stand-up fight against the Sargavans and push back their efforts against us. And what I'm here to ask you tonight is join with me. Join with me in this great quest, not only to stop the Sargavan effort, but to roll it back and perhaps even take our efforts to the capital of Sargava and defeat them in their own city and chase the Chilaxians back across the ocean, back to their shitty demon-haunted country, and take back our country for ourselves. I know you feel this as well, and I know that you know that this is possible. What I want tonight is your acquisition to that you want to join this effort.
Sense motive 18.
18. You feel that he is genuine in his idea of driving the Sargavans back and recruiting you to the cause. You think that he is telling the truth. He wants you to join him to do that.
Hey, Les.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we were on the fiery ship of death,
yes.
Was Vordbert one of the ones that was at that play?
He was not.
Yeah, that's what I thought. There were lots of leaders here, but he was not one of them.
Food is served. So they bring out a huge platters of lamb and beef. I mean, just amazing amount of food. Various kinds of vegetables and things like that, all brought up by servants. And he's like, please eat and drink. Think about what I have sold. If you have questions, I'm happy to address them.
So you'd be willing to follow us in the fight against the Sargavans. You would follow our plans and orders.
Within reason, yes, I would. I feel that you guys have a certain affinity for this. I know that your antipathy for the Sargavans is incontrovertible. I know that your facility for military operations is excellent. So yes, to your point, Titus, I would put some of my my forces at your disposal. I think you would be immensely valuable to this, and not only as fighters in the field, but as strategists in my tent as we take the fight to the plains and to the Sargavans.
And you'd be willing to finance this.
Of course, the financing is already in place. We
Yeah,
are ready.
but sense motive.
Sense motive 18. Yeah,
No.
or do
Sorry.
you just literally say sense motive? I like to
No,
I like to do that at work sometimes when I'm in a meeting. You know, it's like I think we should do it this way. I'm like, sense motive.
Yeah, I do too. And it works. People freeze in fear, their eyes go wide.
Hey, look, so you, Titus. Titus, we are creatures of the same ilk. I understand you are a scholar and a strategist, and I would absolutely be willing to put my staff at your behest to look at these things in ways that make sense. Oh no, please don't punch me. I've heard what you've done to the hydromancer, and frankly, I don't know that my nuts could take it. They are sensitive and gentle, and hang quite low because of the heat.
All right.
He's famous for boot to the head, or nut punch, one of the two.
You know, we dwarves are sensitive to the heat, as you know, Ona. Which means we have to wear extra baggy pants. So to you, Titus, he's like, look, I would have you as a senior most member of my staff. Your scholarship, your intuition in this regard has been well noted. You would be part of this.
No, I don't mean a senior member of your staff. I mean, our group is the general and you follow what we say.
Obviously, that would be problematic. And I don't say this because I feel that you would be lacking in skills. What I do feel you'll be lacking is the people that follow me have followed me, and it is because of the exploits that I've done in the field.
So
they don't know you.
You have just enumerated all our strategic capabilities, our successes.
That makes no sense.
You are asking us to demur to you. And
yes, I am. I mean, you're not generals. You're field agents. Obviously, that to you is yeah. I mean,
we're doers and achievers.
Of course, but strategically, the objectives are set by other people. You have to understand that. Of course, you understand it. Please.
What other people?
These are all issues that can be ironed out in time. You understand that. In the interim, I feel like it's important that we reach an agreement. Your group, my group, and that our agreement is that we are going to work together for the common good.
Mm-hmm. I may vomit on my plate just to give you back.
I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
Good of whom?
The good of whom? Oh no, I understand your position. I too am lawful good, and I wish only the best for everyone. This being the case, the common good would be the preservation of the lives and health of the refugees, and as a further element, the refutation of the Sargavan onslaught.
So
those are my two objectives.
Do you have children?
children? He sort of looks sad. He's just like, yes, I did. I did have children.
You did. Do you have a wife?
I had a wife.
So you have nothing left to live for.
No, that's not true, Titus. What
What
I
do
have
you
to
mean?
live for is justice. I've
Mhm.
seen the Sargavans have committed a grave injustice on the people of the Sargavan Peninsula and the related areas. And I feel it is my duty and my obligation to ensure that that injustice is rectified and that the people of this region are again brought to the freedom that we have once observed.
Don't you have to say, I'm Vordbert and I approve of this message?
I am Vordbert. Can I approve this message?
Okay, it's 11 o'clock, and I've
Yep,
got questions
I'm done too.
about so
Is it really? Okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
Do you want us to email you
All right.
directly? Like,
So-
what we want to spend our money on?
While you guys are Vordbert, I got give me 5 minutes. While you guys are after Vordbert, you guys get back to the hotel. Laura Beck's spirit appears to you and she gives you 10 questions, yes or no?
Then,
10 yes or no questions.
wow.
Answer truthfully. Laura Beck's spirit. I have come to you because I feel like you
Like you missed something because you're idiot.
you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because I'm a paladin, I've always tried to help the idiot in my world. No. So I love to give 10 yes or no questions. I'll give you 10 right now before we kill it.
Is Vordbert lawful good?
No.
Is he evil?
Yes.
Thought so.
And it's the only thing she knows, I guess, huh?
Well, no, she has. She has greater reach now that she's a spirit,
So
so she might be able to answer questions that she might not have directly access to.
Why does Vordbert want to recruit us?
It's not a yes or no question.
let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
No.
Yeah.
Did Wartburg kill you?
No.
Did
He's
he?
not, but you should have asked if he ordered it, or
Did he order that you were killed?
Yes.
yeah.
That's 4.
Actually, is hang on.
Is he afraid of us? Would she know? Is there a reason specifically that he's
Concerned?
concerned with us and specifically?
Yes.
5. Good. 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 Good.
Was Talindra Christmas working with Wartburg?
Yes.
Aha.
Is Shalosa still alive?
Yes.
I think that's 7.
We got 10 minutes, Eric. It's not quantity, it's minutes.
That's right. That's right. I'm sorry. I thought
Right,
10
Les? I thought it
questions,
was.
minutes. Sorry.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
TikTok.
We're at 11:04.
Yeah.
So the last question was: is Shalostra still alive? Yes.
Is she in town?
No.
Is Simeon trustworthy?
Yes.
Is Shalosha still alive?
Yes. You asked that before.
Shalosha?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one. Was Xavius also murdered by the order of Voltbert?
Yes.
Is
Right.
Vordbert being funded by the Sargovans?
No.
Does he,
Is
does he truly
Wartburg
want to wipe out the
and Seaquen?
Sargovans?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Go ahead, Mike.
Say the question again.
Does Vordbert truly want to wipe out the Sargovans?
Yes.
Okay, so he's got the same goal as us. He's just doing it an evil way as opposed to our way.
Yes.
Um,
Does
does
he want to
Vordbert-
wipe us out too?
Yeah.
No.
sure, if we fall in line, then we're an amazing tool for him. If not, then yeah.
Yes.
Is
Okay.
a side
You
salad
said 10 minutes and
preferable-
everything. Is
What?
Katarina on our side?
No.
This one specifically came from Arendar.
No.
Oh,
Katarina?
that was a joke.
Not
See,
anymore.
I told you.
She's not necessarily
Hey,
against
guys.
us, though. Is Katarina against us?
No.
But she's not on our side.
She's just
No.
Katarina is on Katarina's side.
Like I said, that was a joke. A joke more
Uh,
often.
to Eric's question, yes. Katarina's on Katarina's side. 3 minutes.
That's fine.
Is a salad preferable to a twice baked potato as a side dish?
No.
I've been a fool all my life.
Yes.
Um,
Will the elves come back and help defend this place if we work with them?
Oh,
that's a
I
multi.
can't answer that. Yeah.
That'd be-
There's too many variables there.
Is
Should
there
we-
an elf in town that we have not met that would be instrumental to turning the tide?
Yes.
Is
That's a
Shalosha in town?
That's a great question.
Is
Yes.
Shalosha in town?
Right, Vondrum.
No. She's so to the question, is Shalosha in town? She's not in town. No.
Is she within 10 miles of town?
No.
Is the elf in town that could help us a male or a female? Oh, that's not a yes, no, is it? Is the elf a
A
female?
female or a male? Pick one.
Is it a female?
Yes.
Does her name start with an A? Does her name start with a B? Does her name start with?
Jesus Christ. I don't know her name yet. I mean, come on, man. I'm just a hardworking DM here. She lives in town.
Is she watching us?
No.
Does she know of us?
Yes.
Does she know how to get in contact with Shalosha?
Yes.
Is she good?
Yes.
Is she lawful?
Is she any kind of public figure?
To the question, is she lawful? No. Is she a public figure? No.
I mean, okay, is she
Is she a refugee?
No.
Will I know her when I see her?
No.
does she live in town? I mean, does she live in the proper part of town?
Yes.
Like regular houses?
Yes.
Does she live on the west side, east side of town? Does she live on the west side of town?
Yes.
Will she recognize and approach me when she sees me?
No.
Is she trying to avoid me?
No.
So I don't know how to pronounce her name. Celestia. So is that right? Celestia.
Shalosha, yeah.
Celestia. If we were to ask her if she knows of an elfin woman that might be helpful for us to turn this situation around into the positive, would she have an idea who that was? Do you think?
Yes.
Can we find Celosha? or is she hiding? Is Losha hiding?
No.
Did Felicia go back home?
Yes.
Did she talk to her father?
Yes.
We're all screwed.
I
Is Shalosha coming back?
That's a loose question.
unknown.
In the short term, no.
Are the elves planning to come back?
Yes.
Are they bringing lots of pointy things?
Probably yes. Yeah. Yes.
All right. I think that's it.
Yeah, we're done. Cool. Thanks, Les.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you guys.
That was good. That was good.
All right. We will be back with B team soon.
Yep.
Indeed.
Remember 72,000 with the Lyceum. If you have questions, hit me up. Andrew, you want to stay online? We'll talk about Hero Lab.
Yes, please.
All right, sir.
All right. Thanks, Les.
Good night.
Thank you
Good night,
guys.
everybody.
Good
See
night,
you.
everyone.
Night,
Okay.
guys.
Hold on, let me try and stop the
What, you disable